Little kids are cruel. Twins Brandon and Valerie, of course, were like everyone else. The reason why the main character couldn't get along with her family was because she had bright red, almost fiery hair. The baby never understood why only she was like this. It seemed to her that other children were different, especially in their hair, which was most noticeable. Her sister and brother were pure blondes. The children constantly mocked the beauty, calling her names and pushing her, ordering her to get out of the way. The nanny told them that the girl was the daughter of a traveling sorcerer fortune-teller. They are swindlers, those who are not even aristocrats. Such a mixture was not considered a family. When the guys were little, they repeated every word that the nanny told them. They didn't even know the meaning of the expression, illegitimate child, but they said it just like that, one way or another, because of what was happening. The main character developed a complex about her hair. The words that Brandon and Valerie spoke hurt even more, hitting the very heart with excellent accuracy. The baby cried, but they called her a mudblood. She begged to take the words back, but of course, it was extremely stupid on her part due to the fact that the heroine grabbed her brother's clothes with her small hands and tried to prove something to him. He could no longer restrain himself. Without realizing it, the boy pushed his sister away, hoping in this way to get rid of her. The force of the push was not strong because it belonged to an 8-year-old child, but, of course, it was not without injuries. If the red-haired woman fell on a flat area, everything would have been done with a blow to the tailbone. She flies into the unknown, not understanding what will happen next. After the fall, there follows a strong blow, from which the eyes darken and the head rings strongly. The guys crowded around the heroine, who does not understand why she was being punished like this. We could only hope that everything would not end as badly as expected. As if observing everything from the side, the little girl sees her brother and sister, who also begin to cry. Michelle was very young, so she did not know the meaning of the expression, illegitimate child. When the baby was only 6 years old, she lost her normal way of life. It was not immediately clear, but watching the picture with her body covered in blood was quite unpleasant, or rather, terribly frightening. The girl was lucky and survived. The scar remained huge, but this is not a problem, since it can be covered with a dress. We can say that the heroine got off very lightly, although everything should have ended differently. There remains the last problem, which continues to stand still. From that very day, the soul continues to leave the body. When the heroine goes to bed or faints, she simply leaves the body, leaving it to rest. The girl will soon turn 24 years old. She has been curious since childhood, so there are many places where she would like to go and see. Once again, she decides where to go so as not to get bored, sitting next to her. Unfortunately, it is not appropriate for grateful ladies to go anywhere because ultimately it is not accepted. Due to this status, actions have always been limited. But in this state, no matter where you go, no one will say anything anyway, since they will not notice the spirit. 2 days ago, Michelle went to the mountains. She likes this kind of thing, and it happened because she liked the song that she heard at the market. The girl didn't know what to do with herself, so she decided to go on a little trip. Walking forward along the corridor, the heroine notices the son of their family. He is standing near the window, throwing a rope out of it. Surely such a formation will help him get out and ultimately be able to escape. Even after losing many times, the man is still unable to calm down. He again wants to try his luck in his games and again get into some kind of trouble. Unfortunately, things will not work out that way, and this is clear. The girl carefully reaches forward with her translucent hand and puts her fingers on the blonde's shoulder. He instantly shudders because of the strong wave that is pursuing him. Strange sensations do not leave the body. Sighing, the heroine turns away. Red-haired would like to ask why every single day, as soon as the sun rises, the boy immediately goes to an unknown place. Apparently, this doesn't even bother him. Brandon still doesn't react in any way to what he had to feel. He throws the rope down so that it reaches the ground. It seems that the sister underestimated the determination of his brother, who will not give up so easily. Walking forward, the heroine literally stumbles upon a body that seems to be crawling a little backwards. In addition to the fact that the soul leaves the body, the lady has another hidden ability that, scratching the back of her head, the beauty just talks out loud about how much she hates it when she has to do something like that. A woman can't do something like that forever. She can inhabit anything, a person, animals, even inanimate things, and take control over them. Moving forward, the the beauty only thinks that she should try not to get caught by anyone. The ability that she possesses is all that is available to her. Due to some restrictions, it is impossible to do what she wants, so she has to be content with what Brandon should be grateful that Michelle decided to help at all. As a soldier, the man is quite healthy and in excellent physical shape. It is very easy to take possession of the bodies of those who believe in ghosts and are afraid of them, so it all worked out. The girl leaves the guy's body. She leaves him on the bed in her chambers, spilling scarlet paint around. Before leaving, the girl examines the room and rejoices at her creation, because in this way, the brother will not leave the estate for at least a few more days. In addition to all this, the hero opened the safe at his own request. When their father sees such amateur activity, he will definitely not be able to forgive what is happening. He is not one of those who will let everyone get away with it. Moving forward along the corridor, the beauty pays attention to the sky outside the window. She has seen sunsets and sunrises countless times, which has already become some kind of habit. Every time, looking at something like this, only the thought of her origin comes to mind. The red-haired one differs from other people in her ability, in which her soul can leave and enter bodies. The sky really looks wonderful, considering the rarity of its bright colors. Michelle Radiance is not one of those who will regret how the side of the coin turned and where life took her. This girl lives quietly on her own, enjoying the company of her personality. Sitting at the table next to Valerie, the beauty answers everything with short, approving answers. The blonde gets upset and asks to consider the candidates more carefully because this is very important. The first to appear in the photo is Dickens, whom they talked about earlier. The blonde asks to say what she really thinks about him. The girl heard that this man goes to the same casino as Brandon. Michelle was the one who broke off her marriage with the Baron, so now she is obliged to somehow change this. Now the woman must try to change everything so as not to spoil. Continuing to insist on her point, the beauty asks if she can get along with a man. Radiance cannot ignore a person for an eternity, simply hiding behind a magazine that is not even able to save her. The County of Reedon is known among everyone as one of the powerful families of the capital. The family has a long history that is passed down from generation to generation. The girl's father is a rather talented person who holds the position of chief treasurer. Grandfather, the former count, and uncle, they were all warriors who conquered the northern barbarians. They were great, and everyone knew what merits everyone had in this story. Valerie, the daughter of this great family, who was 22 years old, was lucky. She fell in love with the Baron's son and was going to marry him, but that was not the case. One night, 2 months before the wedding, a very interesting incident happened. The beauty, as usual, went for a walk around the city. There were no people around, only silence, which presses pleasantly, creating its own atmosphere. Perhaps there are places where you can watch something. The noise comes from the direction of one of the houses. Of course, the red-haired woman was very interested in what was happening, so she almost immediately clung to the window. There is a party going on, but it seems that it is not so. The beauty first noticed the Baron's son, who had already drunk quite a bit. His friend was sitting next to the woman, and small children were running around, playing peacefully with each other and not interfering with the adults talking. The young man is surprised at how his friend managed to find such a wonderful wife and then have such children. In addition to all this, his friend successfully hid them, so he could not even suspect such a thing. The young man could not help himself, not only for their family of barons, but also for their beloved wife and children. The strength of the Raiden family is needed. They are obliged to help without realizing it, because then it will be too late to refuse. Michelle does not believe what she heard. She covers her mouth with her hands, being in slight shock. He does not consider this a problem, because Valerie will still be carried away by the parties and tea parties of the aristocrats. The man behaves too confidently and boldly. If the wedding is held after, there will be no more problems. You won't be able to refuse the wedding if it's with Raiden. There is no other way out, but in fact, the action is still not the best in relation to them, because, after all, it's true. It turns out that the man wants to marry the beauty's sister when he already has a wife and children, whom he is obliged to take care of. The young man goes outside, realizing that it is already cold outside, because night has fallen. The girl does not want to waste time, so she slowly descends into his body. The man smiles, looking forward. He doesn't understand where his friend is, who went out to get some air and never returned. The Baron looks around, but instead of smiling, he is horrified after what he saw. Lady Radiance grabs one bottle, which she is about to throw at the guy. She is angry and at the same time in tears because she has just learned the hidden truth about her fiancé, who decided that it would be easier for him. He dared to behave this way and is now crying about it that this is just a misunderstanding. Valerie rushes into battle. Michelle, standing outside the window and watching what is happening, forcefully clamps her hands on her ears from the screams that prevent her from concentrating. For some time, the girl will be on the lips in secular society because of what she had to. Radiance emerges from her memories. In fact, it was she who provoked what was happening in the room, because after the Baron, the blonde began to select a man much more carefully so as not to fall into some kind of trap. Honestly, the beauty believes that not all guys can be so perfect that nothing happens. The sister herself threw a bottle at the groom's head. It would be better to look not at the appearance, but at the soul of the person, which, of course, sounds much better. The girl begins to scream about the cruelty of the red-haired young lady, just wants to marry someone who suits her status and criteria, even if her friend believes that they are all exactly the same. Giving up, the woman collapsed on a chair. She says that it seems that her sister is still offended by what happened to her in childhood. The same story has surfaced again that makes Michelle freeze every time and try to cope with problems. Even if the heroine is also at the age when she needs to get married, such issues need to be resolved as slowly as possible. This marriage is not for Michelle, but she does not pretend to anything because of the scar that stretches upward, covering her skin. It is unlikely that anyone will then. In addition, although a woman and the daughter of the Radiance family, she is still an illegitimate child, who is almost openly hated in high society and considered someone who deserves nothing with her origin. Neither the father nor the countess talk about such things, but the lady still understands. Gently placing her hand on the beauty's head, the woman asks her to calm down. It's probably difficult for the family, because they now have 3 children. One has a gaming addiction, and the second, most likely, will remain an old maid that no one needs. Only an illegitimate child remains. And then, most likely, no one will take her because of her origin, which is as murky as possible from the very beginning. One way or another, trying to change something will most likely be useless. The baby is a little younger than her brother and sister, but she is already ready to build a good plan for the future, which is quite suitable for her. When the heroine is of family age, she wants to go to the temple and devote herself to serving in the temple for the rest of her life. She may not even have to worry about a marriage that will not take place. If you manage to get into the temple, then, probably, the reason why the soul leaves the body will be known, no longer wanting to listen to consolation. Valerie says that she cannot continue in the same spirit. It is better to leave her happy future and go in the last circle. The redhead says that she doesn't care what's going on. The turn came to her. She must have heard about the dramatic truce with the barbarians. The soldiers who were there will soon return to the capital. This means that there will be a huge party. All of them should not miss women's hugs when returning from the cold north, because this is simply unacceptable in such a situation. A person whose heart is frozen will feel better if it is melted with warm hands. Love must definitely appear, as destined to do. Valerie's dream is too big, because she herself does not realize what she is talking about. Girls from the north are so good that it is impossible to compete with them. One way or another, Michelle is also obliged to go to that very reception. It is a must to attend. Simply by following the rules of the aristocracy, you will be able to find yourself a profitable match. The red-haired woman freezes with a surprised expression on her face. This is not what the blonde hurriedly leaves, saying that she's going to choose a beautiful dress. This attribute will be the most important so that the lady can be noticed. Still hoping for something, the girl quietly asks to be left completely alone and not forced to go. An ordinary imperial party will quickly begin and end just as quickly. Valerie has many friends besides her family with whom she can communicate, but the beauty herself does not and cannot even have such luxury. Then the heroine did not yet know that the party, which she suddenly decided to go to, would turn her life upside down. Everything should have been as usual, good, but it seems that someone else had their own plan. When going out, a lady looks around, hoping that she will see someone she knows. The dress is too heavy, so she just wants to take it off. The girl didn't pick it up herself, but there's still no choice left. Valerie has also disappeared somewhere. She is not visible anywhere at all, as if she had disappeared underground. Walking further, Michelle still sees her sister, who is in the company of young girls, discussing something interesting and laughing at the jokes The heroine completely forgot that her friend has friends. So, of course, she will spend all the time she has left with them. If she planned to do so, then it would be better not to force her to go to such an event that would not bring nothing good. In order not to seem abandoned, the beauty goes forward. She sees in front of her a table with different foods, which she wants to try as soon as possible. The best thing that exists at banquets is something like this. Unfortunately, the beauty will not be able to eat much because of the dress that envelops her body from all sides, and because of the corset that flaunts around her waist. Shouts that what is happening is savage are distracted from contemplation. It seems that they are talking about barbarians, but soon people fall silent because they announce the entry of the promised princess Sasha Fandyev. If this is a princess, then obviously we are talking about the country of snow and ice, with which there has been a war the royal lady who put an end to a war that lasted more than 100 years, despite the cries of enemies called their barbarians, did not give in to fear, lending a helping hand to the soldiers. The girl finally brought the truce with the empire that everyone deserved. The woman reaches forward, trying to see the royal person coming out. Because of the crowd of people, this is quite problematic. The red-haired one heard that they were the same age, so I wondered what kind of person she was. Coming out onto the path, the girl smiles. She greets the nobles and introduces her first and last name. It seems that a lot of people have shown interest, who previously just stood silently on the sidelines. They say that the language of the empire and the north has a different pronunciation system, but the heroine speaks very well. One can only guess how much effort it took to achieve such a result. Sasha, most likely, has been trying for many years to become perfection herself in order to please the people around her. No matter how you look at it, this is quite a difficult job, which also standing nearby is the emperor's nephew, who led the army in the north. This man is another important guest at the party being held. His name is Timex Rudwillian, and he is introduced by the girl to The man turns his gaze to the crowd. He does not seem as angry as the legends described him, but even a drop of warmth does not appear in his gaze, since he does not. The guy is the same age as Duke Rudwillian during the 100 Years' War. They say that not a single commander recorded fewer losses than him. That is why he is called the Ice Wall of the Empire. Two people who were previously enemies hold hands and enter the party together, which cannot but cause a strong reaction from the others gathered for the show. Seeing this scene, the girl once again realized that the war is over and there will be no turning back. The subjects rush forward sharply, closer to Timex and Fandyev. Because of what is happening, the lady is pushed from side to side and literally strangled with their bodies, asking to get out of the way. One gets the feeling that a fall is about to happen, which will be fatal and, of course, will ruin everything. Another person became the last straw. The girl does not understand how this happened, but at the last moment she runs into Duke Rudwillian. Everyone around them pays attention to the couple almost instantly. The blonde gives the girl a strange look, which only hints at his dissatisfaction. The man seems to wordlessly accuse the beauty, as if she herself wanted to confront him, and therefore did exactly that in order to achieve what she had to do. Due to the fact that the red-haired girl was staring at something, she was hit, and now she is already flying somewhere on the floor. Clinging to the hem of her dress, the heroine tries to restrain herself, but still collides with the parquet, which makes her hit painfully. The drink tips over onto the dress, leaving behind scarlet stains all over the perimeter. Now everyone will laugh at the heroine, and she understands in advance what this means for her. Most likely, they will simply assume that an illegitimate child does not know etiquette. The woman hurried to see the promised princess and made herself ill, not quite understanding what this would lead to. The mistake was completed quickly. Someone is calling the young lady. The same Sasha was nearby, holding out a handkerchief. She apologizes for causing such a big commotion because of her, and tries to make amends with light. Radiance accepts the little thing, lowering her eyes to the floor and smiling awkwardly. She thanks for the help provided, but it seems that this gesture was made too early. The girl smiles a strange smile that does not bode well. She says that the heroine is incredibly lucky because of the red hair she has. Even if a tomato fell directly on her head, nothing would happen, and it would hardly be noticeable. Despite what happened, the smell will still remain, so Lady Radiance better wash herself. Sitting on the floor and looking up at Fondefay standing next to her, the girl is trying to put together a puzzle in her head, which turned out to be difficult. After all that has been said, the beauty begins to laugh. She hurriedly leaves, and everyone else begins to laugh after her. The lady does not consider this a reason for laughter, so she gets up to try to clean her clothes. I can't believe that I will have to go to such a party for at least another 4 days. Finally, the long day ended. Red-haired managed to leave the party, which she was incredibly happy about. The evening left an unpleasant aftertaste immediately after she managed to get to the room and fall on the bed. It makes no difference whether the girl is there or not, because in any case, she has no one to communicate with. The room is also uncomfortable. The imperial palace is full of them, but they were not going to allocate normal rooms to their guests. He and Valerie were given one room, which was not the best, but one can also be patient. The blonde burst through the door, calling Michelle by name, but, seeing her sister turn to the wall, she assumes that she has long since fallen asleep. The girl will still remain illegitimate, and the same uninvited guest who will never be respected. Without realizing it, the beauty is separated from her business. She didn't want to sleep so early, but it happened that way. Flying out into the corridor, the red-haired girl looks around. She doesn't know much about the palace, so it would be best to inspect it. There's no point in even asking someone about the location of the different rooms, because someone like Radiance won't be given an answer. Humming, the beauty thinks for just a few seconds about what she should do next. If she does not return to her body in time, there may be bad consequences that will ultimately lead to Valerie breaking her back trying to wake up the lady must not wake up too late. The sister always believed that during parties, you need to get up early, and it takes time to get in shape and look like a noble lady. Ignoring remorse, the girl is about to go look around. The 3rd and 4th floors, as it was known, are intended for some important people who live there. Flying up to the ceiling, the lady sees some room that looks more like a secret place. The place is protected even from attacks. Perhaps this is something to escape in case of emergency. The corridor is too long, so the lady decides to take a shortcut, merging somewhere into the... Trying to get inside, the beauty feels a strange, but rather unpleasant feeling that makes the blood in her veins freeze. Even touching people, she has not experienced this, so she does not understand what happened. The owner of the room seems to be washing himself, because there is complete silence in the room, and only the sound of water comes from the bathroom. Looking around, the lady becomes even more convinced that there is no one around at all. Walking forward, the red-haired girl notices that she took a wrong turn again, because now she has no idea how to get out. I would like to know who is the owner of the room, but so far this is unknown. The room is twice as large as what the beauty has, so she has no right to even compare them, because it is pointless. Being in such an estate would be much more comfortable, and this is worth recognizing. Passing by, the heroine notices a strange leather bag that stands aside on the bed. Something flashed inside, so, of course, being interested, the beauty moves straight there to reach with her hand. Inside the bag, there was some kind of doll in the shape of a bear. It is old, because there are patches on the stomach, paws, and even on the face, which were placed so as not to be thrown away. The bear has golden fur and blue eyes, which seem to be calling closer and calling for touch. It seems that the owner is a child, judging by the fact that something like this was brought into the room. Looking a little closer, the heroine does not understand what the problem is. The doll is not good enough to please the kids, who are accustomed to all the best things. Most likely, the bear is already more than 10 years old. It is so valuable that it was brought to a party in the imperial palace. It is not clear what is so special, and therefore, without holding back, Michelle reaches out and gently touches her face with her finger. The woman almost instantly began to be sucked inside. She tries to move back, but nothing comes out. It is impossible for this to happen, because it goes beyond all limits. But you can verify the reality of what is happening right there. The teddy bear turned out to have a big catch, because in the end, it turned out that the girl was sucked inside. She must get out before the owner comes. Otherwise, they will do something to her, and this will not be the best experiment. Michelle tries to get out, but a minute later, she realizes with horror that this is not possible for her. She looks around in surprise, not understanding how this happened. Something went completely wrong as usual, and this is terribly frightening. The girl is trying to turn over in her bag. Leaving the bathroom, the man asks who is in the room. Covering her mouth with her hand, the redhead tries to control herself. She thought that there would be a child, but in the end, it is a man's voice that makes it clear that the situation has turned to an even more dangerous path. The guy sounded fierce. The beauty is simply begging in her head for the person to pass by. But this does not happen, because the bag is opened, hands are reaching for the bear, which has frozen so as not to give away its existence. Who would have thought that the person who carries a plush toy with him would be a high-ranking myth of the Northern Wars, the ice wall of the Empire, Duke Timex Rudwillian? It is he who lives in this room. The beauty almost screamed in surprise and fear. She could easily have been heard, which would not have turned out well. It is worth trying to calm down before it was too late, and then coming up with a plan to get out. A picture had already appeared in my head of how the blonde stood with a disappointed expression on his face, saying that Michelle did a good job when she hid in his toy. Radiance will die, being cut into pieces, and this will also destroy her spirit. Shrinking into a ball, the girl turns away. If she makes even one mistake, she will be dissolved into foam, rubber, and thread. It's scary to imagine what will happen if the Duke still manages to catch his friend. I want to cry because everything can't just end like that. Beauty would like to take possession of many things that she couldn't get. So this is the only thing that makes her go. It is difficult to inhabit people themselves. Healthy people are out of the question. It's a different matter when it is a timid person or someone who is afraid of ghosts, as in the case of Brandon. Another good option is when the victim is not himself, as happened with Valerie's ex-fiancé. He was too weak to resist, and he himself did not understand what had happened. It is much easier to take possession of animals that generally belong to a different category. Even so, this is not the best option, because Radiance once almost died due to her carelessness from a wolf that tried to attack her. One way or another, there is no need to panic. The heroine is sure that in 3 hours or more, she will be able to get out and become the one who will remain completely calm outside Rudwillian's room. It turned out that taking possession of the doll was much more useful than it initially seemed. For now, the only thing the lady had to think about was how she could get out as quickly as possible. For some reason, the young man came back again and extended his hand to the bag. Instead of leaving the baby alone, the blonde grabs the toy and pulls it out. He carefully examines the facial features of the bear cub, as if it were his most valuable friend, who is so important to him. More than a month has passed since the end of the war, but the tension still does not go away. It seems that the hero is completely desperate since he starts talking to the plush thing. He looks a little upset. Calling the bear Bile, Rudwillian says that he is so stupid that he could not cope with what was happening. He would like to be understood too, but dreaming is harmless, given everything that is happening. There is no feeling of need and security, which has simply disappeared. The hero's appearance is wonderful: long white hair, which has not yet dried after a shower, and blue eyes, reminiscent of the ocean. The lady is not sure if she ran into him at the party, because then he got very angry. Now his behavior has changed. The heroine does not understand how she should react and what measures to take. Perhaps it would be worth running away, because the Duke left, but he left the doll in his bed, so this would be very strange. If Michelle tries to escape with such short legs, she will definitely be caught almost immediately. It is worth holding out for at least a while. Even if the woman is caught, it is still a precious toy with a name, so Timex should not tear it. A few minutes later, the owner himself returned to the room. He stands near the table, lighting a candle, and then, taking some book, jumps onto the bed and begins to read. There is silence in the room, which is not disturbed. The girl almost pierced herself, but remembered that this is a doll, so you can't breathe just like you can't blink. Blue beady eyes should not budge. Besides all the problems that surround her, the beauty is incredibly bored. After half an hour or more, the man finally got tired of reading in complete silence, and, obviously, he wanted to sleep. After extinguishing the candle, the Duke lies back on the bed to fall asleep. The day was indeed eventful. Darkness and only darkness envelops on all sides. The young lady has no idea how much time has passed, whether 30 minutes or a whole hour. Due to the fact that it is so dark, nothing can be seen at all. And in such conditions, the lady cannot sleep, even if I tried. They say goodnight to the little bear. You have to restrain yourself so as not to instinctively respond to what has already been said. The beauty is silent, not understanding how long she will remain in this body. To see at least something, you have to lift the blanket. The experiment did not end well. The man, obviously, had not slept all this time, because he noticed something was wrong. And as soon as the toy turned around, he grabbed Michelle, who was already about to carefully go down to the guy grins, saying that it was extremely interesting for him to watch how the little girl tried to act calmly. He almost crushed the bear, so, no longer holding back, Radiance begins to scream that she is in great pain. Now it became clear that the young man was pretending to be asleep. The heroine did not even control her breathing, which became very fast, and the Duke watched all this time, carefully studying. Panic broke out inside the maiden. She is incredibly scared from not knowing what will happen next. The blonde cannot believe what is happening. It seems to him that there is a devil inside, or something worse that is moving. There is no answer, because the head of the toy is pressed to the pillow. The sound of a blade being taken out of its sheath is heard. Starting to stutter, the baby begs Timex not to do anything wrong and not make a mistake that could later cost his life. The name became known only because the baby is a precious bear who spent all his time with the Duke. Smiling a little stupidly, the bear cub says that thanks to love and care he has a soul, which is basically impossible. We can only hope that they will believe in such. Pointing his paw at the sword, Michelle asks to put the terrible thing down and hug it quickly. The best way to solve the problem is with your own words without using force. The Duke must show himself as a real man. The young man grabs his friend's collar and carries him further around the room. Not understanding what is happening, the girl asks why they want to put her there, but does not hear any clear answer that could be used. Taking out a strange, small, transparent bottle, the blonde gives Michelle a little drink. The holy water didn't work, which also seems strange. The man's face shows incomprehension. Radiance begins to become hysterical, which rises to a completely new level. It is logical that nothing happened, because the bear is not the devil, but a beautiful and cute toy. Bayul asks to look at the shiny golden fur and blue eyes, because someone terrible could not. Still, not listening to anything and not intending to address any arguments, the Duke hands over the badge from the temple, which he was probably given, instead of calmly solving the problem. The blonde puts it right in the face of the toy, listening to how it tries to scream. It is clear that nothing happened even this time, which helped confirm the strangeness of Timex. Still does not believe what is happening, because the doll, which is already 10 years old, just started moving after such a time. There are no guarantees that this is not the machinations of the enemy. Raising Bayul to his face, the man grins. If he had known that the bear cub would come to life, he would have made even more dolls, and thus the Empire would have even more troops that could be used for attack or defense. In any case, we can assume that the truth was told. It is still not clear why the baby did not move until now. If Michelle knew the name, then something had to be said. All this is because love was not enough, but over time the level increased. The bear only means that he was sleeping. Kind words and warm hugs, little by little, awakened something inside that had been hiding for a very long time. With these words, the girl continues to stretch her hands forward, trying to ask for mercy on her without words. They missed their friend very much. The lady cannot say that she does not feel remorse for having so frivolously mentioned the name of the emperor's nephew, but this is not a situation where conscience saves. The hero must hurry, smile as before, and hug the doll, after which they can fall asleep. It seems that the Duke is not going to sleep at all, although tomorrow there will be a party again, at which something will happen. Opening the window, the blonde man hangs Bayul out. He asks for forgiveness, but he still really can't believe what's happening. Besides, even if what they say is true, he's not interested in a strange doll like the one that came to life. Trying to say something to Timex, the lady fails in her attempts. He, with a straight face, throws the bear from the 4th floor where he lives. The body rushes down, and then the heroine abruptly jumps up in bed. The girl promises that when she becomes a ghost again, she will torment the person until the end of his days. The lady does not understand what happened. It seems that everything that happened was just a nightmare that Valerie, who is still half asleep, reaches forward to the girl, saying that her sister is always nearby, while hugging the beauty. It is strange that she once decided to say something like that. From the very day when that very incident happened, the beauty never uttered this word again, because for her it became something like a prohibition. She jumps out of bed, saying that the sun is already in the middle of the sky, and she is still sleeping. The blonde asks Michelle to get up, but she just says that she didn't get enough sleep. The banquet is a dinner party, which will be the most important. They said that His Majesty is calling all the highest nobility so that they can spend time together and enjoy it. It's strange that the red-haired girl thinks about herself, Even when she has a chance to see His Majesty the Emperor himself, Virgo only says that the man doesn't know the girls' names, so there's no point in bothering him. Just knowing that the lady is Radiance's daughter will make her happy. Not wanting to listen to her sister's whining, the heroine objects, because she believes that this is not so. On the day of her debut at the party, the king took her hand and kissed her, welcoming and congratulating her on finally entering high society. His Majesty is considered the best gentleman in the empire, so his sister must see him. Dreaming is not harmful, even if the blonde is going to take some measures to be as close as possible. Most likely, those who were at the banquet yesterday will whisper about what happened almost all day. Illegitimate children have a hard time, so all that remains is to come to terms with it. The girl would like to be alone in complete silence. Going out into the garden, the red-haired girl looks around. Today it is very quiet there. Nobles with heavy heads cannot go out at such a time, because they think that it is too. Approaching closer to one of the bushes, the maiden bends down to smell the wonderful aroma. There are a lot of flowers, so the thought of picking at least a few for herself even flashes in her head. A young man with dark hair is visible in the distance. Apparently, this is a gardener, so the beauty decides to approach him with a request. She gently touches his shoulder, greeting the man again. Forming the words to be said, the lady says that she wants to take some flowers and put them in her room. She is a little embarrassed because the request seems impudent. In any case, the garden will not be poorer for what happens. The brunette raises his eyebrow and asks in surprise why they are interested in him. The red-haired woman blinks her eyes in surprise, not understanding who she should ask since there is no one else around. Walking away, the hero says that the girl can do whatever she wants. Sighing, the lady once again does not understand what is wrong with all the servants, that they live here. If she collects a few and puts the plants in a vase, Valerie will probably like it. The heroine falls when she steps back and freezes in horror because there is a dead bird right in front of her. She does not understand why bad luck is chasing her. Since yesterday, she has fallen countless times. Not understanding what happened to the bird, the beauty examines it carefully. It seems that she died, stuck in the bushes, or got there by pure chance, without realizing what was happening. The same man who recently refused in a rude manner comes closer and lifts the heroine from the ground, while asking if she is okay. She becomes ashamed almost instantly, but the red-haired girl can't do anything about it. She says that she's fine, and, taking out a handkerchief, bends over the body. Picking up the body, the lady is going to take it away. The servant does not understand why the new acquaintance is doing this, but it seems that this is the best idea, because someone might see and get scared, just like she herself did, by pure. There is nowhere to bury the body, so it would be better to cremate it or trample it. The woman will go to the incinerator. It seems that she should not care, but, or at least that is what the young man who is not entirely involved in this topic. Even if someone steps on a bird, it has nothing to do with the lady. The easiest way would be to pass by and not pay any attention to what has lost all meaning. If Radiance felt sorry for the baby, then others will feel the same way. By doing this, the girl is doing a good deed that will never be forgotten just like that. Up close, the eyes are very black and mesmerizing. The hair is dark, like a foreigner. Virgo carefully examines the interlocutor, whose face lights up with a slight smile of approval, which was not immediately visible. The man may have misunderstood, but the point is not to simply climb up the rung of a good deed. The lady does exactly this because if she doesn't do it, she will feel miserable all. This can also be regarded as something like helping herself. Radiance would not have been able to try to do other things, knowing that she did exactly that, not picking up the body of a bird in the garden, despite what she saw. This is regarded as something like a helping hand to a capable soul. In any case, all that remains is to thank for the help that was provided and calm down from there. The man looks with an interested expression on his face, but not so much that it becomes clear that it is important to him. It seems that even this time everything went completely wrong. Beauty chatted too much. And with a stranger, this is considered an unacceptable thing that cannot be carried into reality. Illegitimate children of nobles, those whom they like to make outcasts in society. If you dress too openly and luxuriously, there will be a problem. If you dress too modestly, very thin, have no manners, etc., in any case, they will point the finger every time. The best option will always be not to be friends with anyone and not to catch the eye. The lady must be careful and live quietly, below the grass. Otherwise, there will be a lot of problems that will come out sideways, because she is not a purebred noble lady. The man standing behind begins to laugh lightly. He thinks that the girl is so cheerful that he wants to talk more. First of all, Michelle is asked her name and is forced to freeze in surprise, which does not disappear from her face for some time. About to set an example, the brunette is the first to say his greeting. He is a knight of Princess Sasha named Unbian Rongden-Wee. This makes you want to scream, because the lady dared to confuse such a person with the gardener in the palace. The red-haired woman asks for forgiveness for behaving so badly. She didn't want to harm anyone, so she apologizes almost immediately. Humiliation was not the goal that was set initially, so all that remains is to be. The brunette believes that what happened was just a funny misunderstanding that happened due to an error of nature. No one is right. No one is to blame. Having calmed down a little, the lady curtsies, introducing herself as Michelle. She is the daughter of Count Radiance, who lives in the capital and is quite famous. Before the man leaves, they say that it was nice to meet you. Sir Randonwee hears the lady pronounce his last name a little unpleasantly, so he laughs. Correcting a new acquaintance, the young man hopes that now everything will be fine and they will be able to communicate more openly. There are no more obstacles that would interfere. Clearing her throat, the lady rolls the name on her tongue. The last name must be difficult to pronounce, because this sound does not exist in the language of the Empire. Since the young man came from the north, this is much easier for him. Watching the beauty try to say the correct syllable, the man smiles again. He would like to chat a little more, but it's time to go back, which, of course, I don't want to do. Next time the girl must pronounce Unbian Rongdenwee correctly. The brunette will look forward to the moment when he can get what he has been waiting for so long. Next time, the lady will no longer apologize a million times, disgracing herself, and will have good practice in the language of the North, which is so complex that it will take time. She promises to be more polite. Smiling, the hero even blushes a little. It will not be possible to forget the request, because when we meet, he will remind you. After the words have been spoken, the young man leaves to go about his business, which can no longer wait. Unbian said goodbye, as if they would meet again. Although the heroine believes that this is impossible, they could not be in the north, where they have the greatest number of chances, so they can. The moment has come when everyone is invited to a banquet. Various high-ranking people are sitting at a huge table. Valerie asks Brandon to straighten his back, because the way he sits is considered inappropriate. This is a special meeting for His Majesty. The Emperor, following the rules is something mandatory, so of course they leave no choice. The blonde does not leave her relatives alone. The father asks not to be too nervous, because the king is with them, and this means that the banquet in honor of the truce is worth giving in to thoughts about how now things will only improve every day. Of course, collecting the rules of etiquette is an important part of the event, but you also need to enjoy the evening. If something goes wrong, the man will tell you how to fix it, so the main thing is to calm down. The main thing is to be grateful for the honor of being here, because not everyone could be invited to such an event, which, of course, is much more important. The highest nobility is present at this banquet with all members of the family. The emperor's banquet is magnificent, and it is impossible to argue with this, because the level is really high. When people say that, it makes others even more nervous than usual. Guys must look decent, as always, so as not to fall on their face. As always, they say how you should behave, as if this is the only thing that makes Radiance look good. Even if it's not true, the girl doesn't agree. The woman tells Michelle what she recently heard. Beauty fell during a party, and probably many people began to laugh. The Duchess asks for forgiveness. She believes that she should have taken much better care of the girl's safety. The red-haired woman tries to say something, but she is almost instantly interrupted. All information became known after a conversation with the wives of aristocrats. Of course, the question was asked late, but the blonde is worried that the lady won't get hurt. She assures that everything will be fine. Valerie also asks for forgiveness for not being there. The girl is really weak to such things, so she doesn't know how to react. In the books, all stepmothers treated illegitimate children with contempt and hatred. But it seems that luck in this world is why the family is different. The Countess's good attitude towards the beauty is so good that it confuses uneasy with anxiety in her soul, so she just has to endure it. Still, until the age of 6, the woman stroked the baby's head and put her to bed almost every day. It was nice. The father asks who dared to push his daughter. It happened because of the crowd. Everyone was in a hurry to see the princess, so an incident occurred. The man noticed that the girl was talking to Sasha. She extended her hand to help and lent her a handkerchief. There's no point in talking about Joe. Brandon turned out to be the most attentive of all those present. The sister wants to say something because something happened between her and Fondue. Nothing like that, but the beauty's face says otherwise. She doesn't agree, because she thinks that her face looks just like you. The sister and brother are almost starting to fight. While they are talking, the father will leave. The king himself called him. The woman heard that the emperor was friends with the duke's elder brother, that is, with his uncle. They had a strong relationship. That is why the man invited his family to such a grandiose banquet. There was, and could not be any other reason for this. The maid comes to the table. She announces that His Majesty the Emperor is calling Michelle, and not even Valerie. Virgo doesn't understand what the problem is. The brother hates when people look at him, but he's going to accompany his sister so that it will be better. Although the man does not consider the beauty a child, she is still the youngest of them. Vain worries are a little annoying. The lady greets the son of the empire, bowing her head, as befits all subjects. The man nods in response. The banquet is truly excellent. The king heard that a woman is like a count, and everything has its own In fact, radiance was called because it became clear that an unpleasant event had recently occurred. During the banquet, the lady fell because of Sasha. Everything is fine with the lady, and she assures that it was her own fault. It's awkward to hear something like this next to Fondue. She's glad that everything is fine, because the beauty thought that the heroine had disgraced herself. It's about a hair joke. It's a pity that the princess had to worry about the stupid expression on her face. It all happened because of inattention and preoccupation with food. The lady notices that a friend was looking at Timex. The lady looked at the duke as if she wanted to say something. Now it is clear that Sasha wants to humiliate Radiance. I'm tired of listening to this, but Yunbian comes to the rescue. He asks for forgiveness for the behavior of his friend. Rongdonwi believes that the princess was mistaken. Because of her status, Michelle cannot even get angry, which is frustrating. Lady Radiance and the knight met for the first time yesterday. Timex says they clashed because of the crowd, that's all. The only reason why their eyes met was to apologize to each other. It seems that the northerners are liars, and the man got infected. Still, Sasha has a share of her guilt. She is so wonderful that there were many people who wanted to see each other and rushed for. The father addresses his daughter. He should not worry, because the beauty will not do anything that will discredit the name of the family. In a beautiful world, a man and a woman, going through all the hardships, fall in love and find their happiness. An obvious love story, but the beauty likes it. If only she was sure that after suffering she would get something like this, she would be stronger. Having not had dinner and returning to her room, the heroine seemed to have fallen asleep because she was so tired after what happened. Stepping back, the baby realizes that she woke up in the body of a bear. In front of her stands a cat, which now seems huge. Trying to scream at the kitty, the girl says that she is obedient, but it seems that the words of reassurance did not work. The story is not at all like a love story, because above the bear there is a cat who plays with him. This is all because of Redwillian, who decided it would be a good idea to throw the doll out of the window of his room. Even if the bear's body is soft, the beauty feels pain in the same way, but even more clearly, which already makes her writhe on the floor. Running into the bushes to hide, the lady hears the voices of the duke and the princess, who is outraged by what was said during the banquet. The girl wanted to run through the palace, but came close to the festive hall. She no longer understands what exactly they are doing. Sasha did everything for the good and happiness of the man, because she thought that he would be happy, but it turned out just the opposite. As soon as the duke has a free minute, he immediately begins to be offended. There is nothing left to do but counterattack. The heroine did not start, because the empire is soaked in blood. At the banquet, you can faint from the amount. Fondue is completely different from what was expected from the very beginning. She does not understand what happened to that sweet lady. Whatever the story, they promised a truce. If the red-haired woman refuses, the world will be destroyed because of her. Clenching her hand into a fist, the maiden shouts that we should not forget who exactly was the invader in this war. It turns out that from the point of view of the people of the north, the empire was the one who attacked them. It seems that hatred has risen to a frantic level. A quarrel with the duke began only because he refuted her words. Shouting something, the lady concludes with the fact that she does not want to see Redwillian. Apparently, the blonde is very tired of putting on an emotionless face, like an ice statue, so he lets his emotions out, allowing him to escape. The same cat, who had obviously been aiming all this time at the bear who was sitting in the greenery, jumps into the bushes again. The baby can't even escape because of the thorns, but it seems she will be saved. The man leans over, asking what she's doing there. The guy shouldn't care. People will be scared when they see a strange doll running around the whole yard. It seems that this is a joke, because everything is immediately visible. The baby is stuck in a thorn bush, which is no longer funny. She asks to remove the greenery. Otherwise, she will be very... Nightmares will come at night if the hero does not decide to help. The screams continue, becoming more intense. Sitting down next to him, the young man sighs. I can't believe that he wants to take revenge on the bear because of the noise, and this horrifies him. We need to find a new owner, because any child will love a talking bear, not a fact since it is heavily used. Even Rudd-Villian threw the plush baby. Turning away, the blonde still agrees to take the little thing with him. Timex took the baby with him, and this is much better than dying from a cat. He bathes the toy, but it begins to choke. Looking forward in surprise, I want to ask what's wrong, because the doll is not a person, but it turns out that it also breathes. The body has become heavier due to the water. Throwing Michelle to the surface, the young man asks to leave when everything is finished. Because of his friend, the guy got wet, so he begins to undress. Running away, Radiance notices wet paw marks. I remember whose body the baby is in. When she moved into a rabbit, she damaged her tail, and now she has completely fallen from the 4th floor. The body is fine. Even so, Red Hair doesn't know if she can return to her body if she falls asleep. Usually, when she sleeps, the soul leaves the body. Sitting on the bed, the girl tries to fall asleep because something might happen. The blonde asks in surprise what is happening. It's impossible to think, as if the brain is made of cotton, like a doll. Approaching the closet, the lady notices that there are enough clothes there for several years. The emperor prepared everything for the meeting of his nephew. Everything that the duke brought is in the bag from which the bear came out. The rest of the things were thrown away because they stank of blood. The north is a terrible place, but it's strange that the hero brought a toy with him. The issue quickly becomes moot, because, in fact, it seems the blonde has brought the beauty to sleep with him. The girl doesn't want to know much, especially about such a person, so she runs forward so that they can finally sleep together. Grabbing the baby, the duke asks if she is going to sleep wet. There is also cotton wool sticking out of her cheek. There is no thread similar to the color of the doll's fur. Mishka does not know how to sew, so the owner himself will do this and take on it. If the duke is a soldier, then of course he should be able to do something like this. In any case, he still sewed up the toy every time. The blonde took terrible care of the baby, since there are patches everywhere. She again clarifies whether the new name Bile is true. Bile is the sister of a young man. 10 years ago, she lent a doll to the guy, wishing him well when he first entered the battlefield. It turns out that the bear is already too old. Michelle wonders if they got along well. The lady is not on bad terms with her loved ones, but not on the best ones. Still, she is a little jealous. They were very friends, judging by Timex's story, but now she is no longer alive. The lady didn't see the guy's face, but she can definitely say that it was unpleasant for him to even think about her. The insensitive voice is well known. All this is because the beauty herself is the same. She responds with her family, sometimes also trying to hide her true feelings. The Duke was the first to be on the battlefield. He said that he was 18 years old. He was sent to war by order of his father. In 7 years, the man achieved success. After the death of the previous Duke, he received status and became commander-in-chief. Far from home and in the cold north, he talked to his sister's bear, who was a little substitute for a while. Valerie calls Michelle, who is deep in thought. She doesn't even bother to answer the question. Nothing important was asked. We are talking about some man who does not have an ideal type. There must be at least one hero that the sister would like, because even reading novels can bring options. Having seen the character in reality, you might want to be with him. Red-haired never thought in such a way. Heroes from love books are quite different. Profession, age, and even title can be completely different. There is only one trait that the heroine likes. She needs someone who will love her, and that will be quite enough. If she manages to marry someone who treats the lady well, it will be happiness for her. A worthy answer came out right away. Michelle is stupid, because there will not be a person in this world who will hate her. According to her sister, this is complete nonsense. The blonde is behaving extremely naively. There will always be people who will hate this or that person without realizing it. Yesterday, at a banquet, the lady met a handsome knight. No matter how kind she was, it seems that he was not pleased with the company of his new acquaintance. Radiance jumps up from his seat with a malicious expression on his face, asking who this man is. It's better not to talk. If we talk about rudeness, then the lady is the same ruthless queen who behaves strangely. The knight quickly changed. When he learned the beauty's name, his interest grew by 100%, and he began to ask about the young lady. In addition to all this, the hero said that he met Michelle in the garden at the southern gate. He was that same. The man came from the land of snow and ice, so all that remains is to guess who he is talking about, which will not be difficult. This is Unbian Rongdenwi, who, as soon as his name was called, appears behind him, saying that the identity was still guessed against his wishes. The beauty exclaims in surprise, because she did not expect to see a person so close. The surprise turned out to be pleasant. Valerie laughs. She recently saw the night, and so she decided to see Michelle's reaction, which was not long in coming. The brunette, in turn, asks for forgiveness for scaring Radiance. He didn't mean to do anything bad. The blonde calls Sir Rongdenvi. He hasn't eaten yet, and if so, maybe he wouldn't mind spending dinner with the girl. There's no point in asking Michelle if she can't even refuse. Virgo doesn't understand what awaits her next, but so far she doesn't like it. The man starts a conversation. He heard that the lady was not feeling well recently, so he even began to worry. Thanks to a friend, the misunderstanding with the princess was resolved. You just have to be calm because hope dies last. Although Unbian accompanies Sasha, he will not solve personal problems for her sake. The young man was simply worried about Radiance, so he sincerely wanted to help her. Red-haired, surprised, asks if there was any reason for this. Valerie pushes her sister on the shoulder because the pause has dragged on for an indecently long time. It's worth answering. A smile lights up the boy's face. He believes that they are friends, and this is normal. The meeting in the garden lasted only a few seconds. Michelle doesn't understand what her friends are talking about. It turned out that the man believed that that meeting was enough. The girl still has no idea how someone she knows for only a few minutes can become her new friend. Deciding to hush up the matter, Rongdenwi extends his palm. They can shake hands, and thus become new friends. This is not something that can be done with a simple handshake. To become close, you need to spend enough time together and have common interests. In this case, the interlocutor asks how long they must stay next to each other in order to become more than just acquaintances. 10 years sounds like a long time. It's too long. But in this case, the brunette hopes that they will enjoy this time. I can't believe that this man doesn't give up. If he sees the lady often, rumors will spread like wildfire. Valerie laughs, complimenting him. The man has such a good character because he is a knight. The lady managed to leave. Not only was she forced to attend the banquet, but she also had to stand with her sister's friends. It looks like they were embarrassed. Surely everyone was thinking how she was carrying an ugly duckling with her, and thereby disgracing the blonde. One way or another, it's worth hiding before no one notices. Noticing the balcony, the lady rushes towards it. If she closes the curtains from the inside, the likelihood of detection will be even less. It's lucky that it's empty, so the heroine grabs the handle. Someone's hand can be seen on the side, which is also interested in the balcony. A man with snow-white hair and a wonderful smile greets a lady who looks back in fascination. Greeting the priest, the heroine tries to digest in her head what is actually happening right there. Realizing the situation, the young man asks what Michelle is doing. She came to get some fresh air and was the first. Sighing, the blonde says to give your hearts to God's servants. The lady asks to shut up, to which she receives a note about how stupid such a thing looks from the... It took the Empire 100 years to realize this fact. Everyone could laugh and say that this is quite sad in this context. The lady is beautiful and wise, so she shouldn't waste her time. She can find another free terrace and end the conflict. The lady is prying. There is no point in trying to be smarter than the priest. And since the man can find another place for himself, all that remains is to say, "Thank you." Walking through the door, the girl closes it. The young man knocks, asking how you can be so rude to someone like him. If Michelle is an aristocrat, then she is obliged to have fun with others, and not stand behind a closed door. She had no one to talk to. It would be worth just putting up with it. But the blonde opens it with one of the sheets of the Bible, smiling right in his face. The priest cannot use force for this reason, since it is rather blasphemy. Red-haired steps back, hoping that everything will end. The Holy Father had to teach the young man that closing the curtains means that a person asks not to be disturbed. The hero says that he doesn't know anything like that and tries to push the girl out. They fight, not intending to stop. The beauty promises to inform the temple. She will tell you that the priest has such huge personal assets like the blonde is no longer able to resist. Inhaling loudly, he sits down at one of the columns, saying that he still won't go anywhere. Radiance has the right to do whatever she wants. It will be better than a quarrel with the first person she doesn't even know. The terrace is cool and not crowded. Beauty has lost too much energy, so she is very hungry. Turning to the priest, who had been sitting quietly and below the grass all this time, the lady says that she wants to bring something to eat and asks to close the door. Turning away, the new acquaintance nods, at the same time saying that he wants to drink something. He could go out after the heroine. A harem man cannot take something to drink, so bringing a drink should not be difficult. The lady sighs. After the instructions she was given, the red-haired woman went to the wine stand. She was looking for a red bottle among all the same ones. Then, on the balcony, the young man said that there were only 3 types that he needed. The Duchess jokingly thought that such a thing did not even exist. If you can bring several, this will be the best option. Sir Unbian comes up from behind and scares his friend to death. Rongdenvi notices that her friend is busy. He likes to appear out of nowhere every time, but asks for forgiveness for this. The habit of surprising people is quite amazing. Out of horror, the beauty accidentally spilled water and a drink too, because the brunette leaned closer. Previously, the hero did this all the time, but now he's stopped. So, this only happens to Michelle, judging by maybe it's true. Lady just falls for the same trick the easiest way. So all that remains is to continue. Being a knight, the guy bends his knee so easily that he makes you wonder. He takes a handkerchief out of his pocket. It looks like the girl is very dirty, even if she strenuously assures that everything is fine, only for the man to get up. Still, getting up, the brunette smiles again at the remark. Previously, he defended the princess, but the truce has already been signed, so the danger has disappeared. Unbian simply became bored, so, noticing his girlfriend, he decided to head straight to her. She can always cheer you up. Finishing his dialogue, the man again remembers that he needed to say something. Of course, we will again talk about a young lady. There is always something to talk about if you think about it, because staying without topics will not be the best option. Not intending to back down, the young man asks questions. For some reason, Miss looked strangely at the bottle of wine. Immediately, attention switches to the container from which a little spilled out. It seems that this was the funniest thing in the man's eyes when he just looked. After this, I don't even want to remember what it all came to. Every time she meets the hero, the beauty is ashamed, because every time something inappropriate for the situation happens. Dodging the question, the girl is about to leave. The air in the hall is very stale, so she will have to go out onto the terrace. The brunette continues to follow on her heels. It seems that the hero heard earlier that a friend cannot drink, but it turns out that the rumors were not even 25% true. Unbian says he talked to Valerie at the party yesterday. She said her youngest can't drink either. The blonde has Brandon. They are twins and have always been together, although they are friends. But now everything has changed a little after a while. Still, older brothers and sweet sisters are different. This cannot be denied. He doesn't know about family history, so he says whatever. It seems that the knight is going to follow my lady to the terrace. Sir Rongdenvi is so kind that it is no longer quite normal towards an illegitimate child. Approaching closer to the doors, the red-haired woman inhales. We can only hope that the priest will not start arguing with a guest from another. Coming out onto the terrace, the lady immediately realizes that there is no point in worrying. He smiles slightly as the conversation continues. The first thing you hear is indignation, because they brought a man. A man has no right to present anything just before the lady moves on. The blonde asks for his drink, but as soon as he takes a sip, he begins to spit because of the sweetness. The young man is hysterical because this is not ordinary red wine. The girl could not notice whether it was red or blue, especially since someone was disturbing her. Noticing strange behavior, the Duke comes forward, telling his acquaintance that he is too rude and behaves dishonestly, as if he does not meet his criteria. It was not enough that the lady was instructed to bring wine, but anger was immediately expressed, which is difficult to hide. The red-haired woman watches silently. She doesn't know what to do, and whether it would be right to side with Unbian, she doesn't know either. From the knight's point of view, it looks as if the lady was being attacked. He couldn't stay away for too long. Stepping back, the Duchess sits down, determined not to distract them. Timex appeared on the horizon just in time. Radwillian appeared as if out of nowhere. Perhaps he was not immediately noticed from the very beginning, which was already a loss. It was this man who stood next to the priest and is now trying to rub something in, although he himself hid behind a car. If the boy is so worried, the best option would be to stop them. This quarrel was the fault of the girl. Sharply withdrawing her hand, the red-haired woman chuckles, because she's not sure whether it was only her fault. There's no point in proving anything. Not understanding why the interlocutor is staring, the beauty turns away. Surprise on the part of the others is visible. Without stopping, Michelle reminds that at the banquet, the man didn't even say a word, although he could have apologized. The young man does not understand what he did wrong. At that very event, he literally touched the lady, giving no rest. Unbian doesn't understand what's going on, while the blonde notices that this is most likely the girl who took revenge. Hearing such nonsense, Miss confidently refutes, saying that she didn't even touch her finger, and he does the same, putting his hand forward. The blonde swears on the imperial honor that the easiest thing is that he behaves exactly the same as with everyone else, without exception. Glaring at each other, the lady only thinks that this man is too arrogant. A soldier who throws away his honor is no longer a miracle. The man asks to pay attention to him. There is a high probability that a friend was just passing by and touched the young lady. Turning around sharply, the beauty reminds that physical force was used here, while the blonde says that he was not just passing by. Beginning to feel devastated, the young man insists that he did nothing wrong. There is no point in doing this, and it's worth thinking about. The Duchess held the dishes with both hands and could not do anything like that. But the man still thinks otherwise. The lady doesn't remember, but there was a very full dress that she wore, with high hems. It was larger than now, and yet the situation is ambiguous. Lowering her head, the heroine remembers that she really was wearing a similar robe. Maybe there really was a mistake. Unbian asks Michelle to return, because Valerie must have already searched her sister in the intervening time. There is still no logical way out. Timex must agree. This is all a stupid misunderstanding that should be quickly squashed and not spread in all directions. There's no evidence to the contrary, and it's starting to get confusing as the girl gets glared at. The lady admits that she blurted out without thinking, but now she can't give up. Round 2 is just beginning, because the best is yet. The Duke asks not to bring up this topic in the near future. This will not happen, and such quarrels will remain in the past. Finally, the lady advises you to stop quarreling with the princess. One way or another, the heroine got into trouble, precisely because of the— I am sure that in this case there will be no excuses. You will have to think about this until the end of days after the incident. The knight catches up with Lady Michelle again. He knows better than to say that, but she was sweet when she was angry. It's strange that a man finds something like this nice, but he has to say thank you in a polite way and move forward. Valerie rushes forward, saying that she was worried. Sister only notices that she has wonderful blue eyes that attract attention. The girl rushes at her friend, saying that she only left for a minute, and she already managed to do her business and disappear somewhere. The worst situation, lady can't sleep because the image of the Duke is in her head. She doesn't know if he was really to blame, but she's already accused. Virgo is trying to force herself not to sleep, because if she falls asleep, she will wake up like a teddy bear. I don't want to date a blonde guy. Still, sleep takes over. The body moves into the darkness. A voice is heard asking for help and asking to hurry up. Timex's voice is heard. He is sure that it is better to light a fire, but if something goes wrong, the toy will be seriously injured. The priest says that he just wanted to check everything. Realizing who is standing in front of her, the bear calls the name of the owner, who bows. The blonde can't believe that the doll is really alive, so he screams just like Michelle. She has no escape plan. For some reason, the nails are the first thing that becomes noticeable, because they are in the paws. The stomach separates, and cotton wool appears from there, which is already a little scary. There are candles, holy water, a strange thing, and a painted star around. Now it seems clear what they are going to do. The people gathered seem to be more like crazy people, so the best thing to do is to push them away. Now everything will be— The baby can't calm down, so she tries to break free, harming herself even more. If Timex thinks there's a devil inside, he's really wrong. Grabbing one of the nails, the lady screams indignantly. The girl has already said that she has nothing to do with that dark force. Her thoughts and intentions are crystal clear, so there is no need to worry. The priest believes that there is no point in this because no devil would admit his identity. It seems the Duke made the wrong conclusions. Confirmation was needed, but there was no intention here to offend anyone. Mishka can be sure, because this time the man is going to fulfill what he planned and swears on the honor of the Empire. The cotton wool begins to fall out even more. No need to worry, because such a wound can be stitched up in a few minutes. No matter how hard Valerie tries, nothing works, and every time everything goes the same way, sitting down on the parquet, Radiance bursts into bitter tears. To check, as usual, they use cursed dolls. They put in white rice and animal bones that were delivered in advance. The man decided to check, He would check the doll for the presence of something like this. She was suspicious, so they decided to. Even Timex says that he decided everything on his own. The baby leans on the book, listening to the indignation. As a priest, the hero has every right to declare that it was a sacred thing. You can open the door with a book, but not in this case. It's best not to move, otherwise it will be more difficult to sew. The girl urges you not to touch her back. Cecile agrees, saying that his friend is a maniac, since he acts this way. He replies that this is not true, fighting back with. Perhaps without realizing it, the boy has developed a habit. It makes the Duchess a little embarrassed to see him deny it, even though he is with friends. I would like to know what really happened, and we are talking about the same lady who is Radiance's second daughter. The lady's face is difficult to see, and she rarely attends parties. She is not one of those who could do anything wrong, since she does not see anyone. There is an ice wall in the north, and in high society the heroine is referred to as the Ice Rose, which apparently she really is. It's not funny that such a scary woman is associated with a flower. It was cruel, because she almost died from the cold in her eyes. The face that the blonde made then will never be forgotten. We can only hope that such problems will not arise in the future. At that time, Timex looked as if he was about to take revenge, but now all the pomposity disappeared in an instant, surrounded by acquaintances. Whenever you don't like something, the baby is like a dog that desperately needs something. The anger comes out. It would be a terrible feeling if one of them woke up with a hole in the middle that the others. A toy can't be considered a person, because that would just be funny. But in any case, it's not the worst option. Finally, the seam was placed. I can't believe the Duke can sew so neatly with such big hands. The cotton seems to be stuck together inside, but the lady does not look strange, so she can distinguish this from foreign substances. The necklace that disappeared somewhere at Timex was something sacred, and if you think about it, will bring benefit to others. The blonde is still sure that it is best to light a fire, but Rudwillian refused, if a doll with a holy object is the best. No matter who he meets, Cecil can now boast, the corrupt priest behaves worse than the rest. I inserted a Timex pendant, so there is no point in shouting. The blonde laughs, but asks to just as persistently accept his apology. The young man has something as a gift. He takes out a bag of cookies, but the doll most likely cannot eat something like that. It was a mistake to rush to conclusions. A bow from a package that turned out to be almost red was tied around the bear's neck. The blonde guy can't sleep, so he starts a conversation with the lady. He asks permission to tell some old story. It seems that the red-haired woman wants to know more about Buell, so she asks about the guy's sister. That was her name, but there is mercilessly little. The most important thing is that the girl was good. Although she was 6 years younger, she was very smart, as if she read books all day long and already understands the essence of the world. Despite any difficulties, the child remained just as cheerful and bright. Timex still remembers how the blonde played with a doll. The little girl always arranged her toys and gave them invisible tea, giving them funny names that she liked the most, like the author. The girl was born with a mark in the shape of an imperial star, which is why she was revered as a saint in the central temple. Not the mother, not the boy himself would want the girl to become a saint. That day, he went to his father's office, who asked her to raise her voice over trifles. Buell was too young even to visit temples, but then they really wanted to make her the chosen one and send her to be raised. The business of adults does not require the attention of a child. You can sort this out on your own while Rudwillian is busy with business. After these words, he was asked to leave. Miraculous girls born on a special day and place are called saints. Until they reach adulthood, they live in the temple and receive a temple education. As a rule, such people are a symbol of nobility and divinity and are respected by everyone around. The baby was only 4 years old at that time. As a man of noble birth, the guy had many restrictions. He could not confuse other people and understood that not everything would be as he wanted. A child who does not even know what a mission is most likely could not be away from his family for an extended period of time. It will be very difficult to live with restrictions on everything that you once liked. The man cannot imagine, but it will be much more difficult for Buell. The little girl smiles, saying that everything is fine. Since the age of 5, she spent most of her time in the temple, which was not the best option. Every time the baby returned home every 2 weeks, she always smiled radiantly, even if it was difficult. She will have to suffer until she becomes an adult. The guy would like his sister to live in comfort, but he couldn't afford it. If only the young man had known that Buell would die so early, even if he had to quarrel with his father, he would never have let her go to that very place. If you think about it, of all the saints that the beauty has ever seen, not one was truly happy. Timex's father is the free brother of the emperor. He did not have to send his daughter to the temple and his son to war, since there was already enough power. On the day when the young man left, the girl gave away the bear cub that she loved so much. She said that it would protect against misfortune. The young man has no idea whether this is somehow connected with reality, but here he is sitting in bed, more alive than anyone else. He doesn't know what could have happened. Perhaps, leaving the toy with Ridvillian, he would have helped her survive. It's just a bear that wouldn't change anything, because only faith matters. No one knows how things could have gone. A brave knight who stopped a war that lasted 100 years and brought peace to the empire. Michelle heard a lot, so she didn't want to get close. At least now the lady can block the evil force. The holy object, in a sense, helps a lot, making the thing more significant. The man still has doubts about the identity of the baby. Starting to scream, the girl shuts up because they put a hand on her. The blonde asks her to act like a doll if she wakes up earlier. The Duke knows how to pretend he doesn't know anything, but that doesn't mean others can. Besides Timex, no one would believe it. It's better to wait until the carriage returns to the mansion. When they get there, it will be a little freer than in the palace. I can't believe that they are not going to leave the girls completely alone. Ridvillian would not be happy with such a surprise, for sure. It is not clear what will happen if the soul is far from the body. If everything goes wrong, then you will never be able to become a bear. Lying on his side, the blonde asks him to fall asleep quickly. Nothing will happen if you think about all the issues the very next day. Michelle sits at breakfast and smiles at Brandon, who begins to worry and asks what happened. Judging by the faces of the twins, they have already managed to skillfully exchange glances. The friend has only one question. The lady, asking if she is beautiful, both jump up and are surprised and try to prove that it is not at all polite to say such a thing to a lady. Of course, the girl had something in mind that had come true, that had been said by other people, and she did not want to return. Changing for the sake of other people's standards is already too much. In just one existence, the girls will already be dead, so no problems. Valerie sits, assents, assuring that it will not be a problem to talk to someone who already likes her and explain the situation. This only means that one beautiful knight liked Michelle, and he exported the princess from the country of chance and ice. The girl should think about it. If she marries a barbarian, she will have to live in a place where it is very cold for the rest of her life. Many friends ask to introduce you to the red-haired woman. There is no point in despair, because among them there are those who do not play. If the most important thing is not the face, then there is even more choice than there was originally. Unbian, and the inhabitants of the snow are not the best in the end. In addition to all this, they have a truce in the empire, so you should try to behave as calmly as possible without getting involved. The girl has different news, but recently she has become very close to the brunette, so she cannot change anything. Sir seemed to like the blonde very much. He constantly talked about how he liked her. The redhead is the younger sister, so she thinks that they are trying to treat her well in order to maintain a relationship with the other. Perhaps the beauty wanted to talk about this aside. It would be best to remain silent and not go to the barbarians, even in words. The Duchess asks you to calm down because the maiden does not belong to Brandon. Everyone has the right to their unshakable opinion. Not a single daughter of Radiance will marry a strange man, so all questions are directed to him as the one who forbade from the very beginning. You can't say anything bad, but Sir Unbian is simply accompanying the princess, and it will be almost impossible to defeat him. I can't believe that they have the same blood. My neck is burning. Because of last night, when a burning candle hit my neck, something similar happened. There was pain even in the doll's body. Cecile comes out from behind, greeting her acquaintance. He smiles, narrowing his eyes a little, and asks what she's doing there. The red-haired woman looks into the distance for a long time. Perhaps the heroine is looking at the men who pass in the distance, or doing something more interesting. Hearing what was said, the beauty remembers how someone tore the book for convenience. People from above should know about this. Cecile is truly a frivolous person. The more the lady looks, the more convinced. The blonde is not far behind. He doesn't believe that the beauty just stood there and didn't bother other people. She doesn't care at all. It's strange that the lady was looking at a strange man. It turned out that he was carrying something, so for her it was more than important. During a walk, a dead mouse was found. It was inconvenient for others, so in order not to touch, the red-haired woman looked for someone to ask about it. It turns out that the heroine takes care of something like this. Everyone seems busy, so all we had to do was wait until... It sounds unclear, but perhaps there will be someone who will have nothing in his hands and he will help. There are no other options. Cecile notices a burn on her interlocutor's neck. He asks with concern when this happened, and when she got hurt. Michelle doesn't seem to want to talk about the injury. If she's hiding something, that's bad, but it's better to let go of a hand that's starting to hurt. The blonde doesn't let go, so the heroine suddenly breaks free. Without calculating her strength, she flies to the ground, only managing to look back. At just the right moment, Unbian appears again. This time it seems much better that he was nearby. The young man thought that the couple's problem yesterday had been solved. The priest shouts that something else could have happened today, so there is no need to judge. The brunette is outraged that his advice was not followed. He is also a person who has a tendency to be rude. Now the guy sounds like someone unfamiliar. The atmosphere has become unpleasant and sticky again. We need to calm these two down before something happens. People begin to whisper around, noticing the one who is standing and quarreling. A fight develops, but the red-haired woman is drawn into the room. Michelle tries to say something, but nothing comes out. Her face looks more disappointed than in any other option. The beauty asks to continue the conversation and not pay attention to her while she runs away from this confrontation, which could damage her reputation. The princess became another witness. She calls Rongdenvi because it took a long time to look for him due to his absence. The lady from the Radiance family cannot be such an important person. Sasha notices a priest nearby and introduces herself as an acquaintance. A second ago, the lady's face looked different. She reminds that she asked him to come as soon as possible, but he seems to have forgotten. The guy turns away, saying that he was busy. The strange atmosphere does not leave the terrace where people are standing, only because of these two. The princess talks about her desire to have a cup of tea. If this is really the case, then it's better to do it next time. The subject has a job, but he does not look like one who regrets. After the work is completed, the hero must enter the mistress's chambers. Promising that she will wait, the woman is already about to leave. Finally, she looks at her acquaintance with a contemptuous look. The redhead didn't do anything wrong, so she doesn't understand why she feels the princess's hatred. The lady asks if she's okay. It would be better if the heroine didn't come out at all, because they clearly don't like her. She's so tired that she wants to come back. Having made a cute face, the girl asks not to quarrel just because of her, because if this continues, her heart will hurt. Cecile suspects that what was said was read from somewhere. This is true, because the line was borrowed from a novel. Unbian is still being carried out, so he is not going to do anything that worries the lady. He is not going to quarrel. In fact, Radiance doesn't care. The main thing is not to do it in front of her, as other people might think that she has something to... If it works out, the couple should listen and do as asked. After that, the beauty quickly runs away. The rest can laugh as much as they want, but the girl is not going to participate in gossip, so as not to stand out from the crowd. Luck must come someday, but definitely not then. During the day, the damned man and the princess were tormented, and in the evening the heroine was dragged to a ball. I want to quickly get into comfort, and so the lady found a quiet place in this huge palace, which is not calm. Even in this secluded place, the beauty managed to meet a man who turned out to be someone you don't want to see. They haven't seen each other for a long time, but the girl is hiding. It was a cute joke, but the expression on her face has changed a lot. They were close to becoming... That's the beauty of Michelle. It's a pity that she's not blonde, although red color is more suitable for Mrs. The Baron is fed up with people with blonde hair, so it's clear who we're talking about. He has a wife and children, and he was planning a sham marriage, which is disgusting. If the guy has nothing more to say, the girl is about to leave. The girl is acting strange because she doesn't like the new company. They are not on friendly terms, so nothing can be done. To stop the lady, the Baron grabs her hand, saying that he has not finished the conversation. The brunette knows that they feel some kind of sympathy for him, so she treats him with respect. The heroine could not become a pureblood, since she has noble status. The man grins, asking what people say when they see a beauty's hair. She didn't expect such strong rudeness. It seems that the sweet lady has begun to be afraid. The brunette smiles, saying that even if the tone is higher than usual, it does not mean anything. It is impossible to overcome the guy with ordinary force. If everything is fine with her, the hero asks to go to a quiet place. Michelle really should leave. If it's all because of Valerie, then they have nothing in common with her, which is already joyful. It seems that the red-haired one infuriates the Baron just as much as the other sister does now. The girl has always been arrogant. Even the illegitimate daughter suddenly began to play with several men at once. Women should obey men and enjoy what they are given. In the title, the hero calls everyone girls of easy virtue, but the lady can't stand it anymore, so she hits him in the face with a plate. After the body falls to the ground, the beauty tries not to shake with fear. She does not believe that she could kill someone. Not understanding what to do, the heroine drags her friend by the legs. Perhaps it is worth contacting doctors or knights. People should help if you at least ask them. The lady tries her best not to cry, but it turns out to be extremely difficult. Tears still flow down your cheeks as a picture unfolds in your head of how a brother and sister will be disgraced because of an illegitimate child, just like their parents. The beauty doesn't understand what to do, but then someone comes out to meet him. Checking the Baron, the Duke says that the man is still alive, so he should calm down. The man extends his hand, but they put a handkerchief there, which he himself gave. It's strange, but he still stretches out his palm. It turned out that the young man was not asking for a thing. He would need to meet with legislators to obtain more detailed information. But this is not such a big deal. The lady hit the brunette with a plate and hit him in the chin. He probably has a slight concussion, which is not entirely scary. In any case, the heroine tried her best. People don't die so easily just because of one blow. The next day, the man's father came and shouted about challenging his family. He was very indignant at what was happening. It doesn't matter how much His Majesty trusts his acquaintance the Count, because the girl is too fierce and should not be allowed into society. The lady probably wouldn't do something like that without a reason. The king asks Michelle to tell her why she did what she did. The father assures that everything will be all right, placing his hand on the girl's shoulder. She can tell His Majesty what happened. Radiance has no right to say that the Baron dared to talk about Valerie. It seems that the Countess does not raise the lady because she is not her own. The blonde comes to the defense be that as it may, the girl is her daughter, even if she did the same to the son of another family. There is silence in the hall, but it is covered by the maid Duke Rodwillian wants to see the Emperor about something. The man is busy, but the blonde said that he has something to say on the topic of discussion, which is developing at breakneck speed. If you think about it, it was Timex who brought the brunette, so maybe the lady is silent, so something like this might clarify the situation. It will be best to hear the story from another person. Entering, the hero salutes the son of the Empire, bowing his head. The Duke may have something to say in the current situation, but by kneeling he asks for punishment, which will be deserved. He was the one who hit the guy. No one understands what just happened because they are confused. The king immediately orders everyone to leave the room because he needs to talk to his nephew. There is a misunderstanding. Already going outside, the red-haired woman is thinking about the reason. The man looked with such a face as if he didn't want to get involved, but then something changed. The Countess tries to calm down Michelle, who looks even paler. Nothing will happen, so don't think about the worst. The conversation with His Majesty took a little longer. The Duke apologizes for keeping the others waiting. A man apologizes because of his son's carelessness. The act was committed by the Baron, so he himself must ask for forgiveness. According to the blonde, he accidentally saw a boy approach a lady in the garden when she was alone. She began to argue one-sidedly. Michelle tried to ignore it, but the brunette grabbed her by the shoulders and arms. It looked like he was threatening her. Of course, the hero did not have the right to ignore what was happening, so he did not want big problems to arise. The father is sure that his friend insulted his son. After Rodwillian witnessed a one-sided argument between the Baron, who turned to intimidation of the lady, the hero could not stand it and knocked him out immediately. One way or another, it is this person who is responsible. He promises treatment and financial compensation. His Majesty does not want any fuss. Anyone who opens this topic again will be severely punished. Silence is taken as consent. The ice wall of the Empire acts as if he came out of those very rumors. He asks the red-haired girl to stay behind so that they can. Michelle was just about to say the same thing, so she doesn't see any point in giving it up just like that. Asking her parents not to worry, the girl runs away. She asks why the man did this, but he believes that now there is no longer any debt left between them. Perhaps we are talking about a quarrel at the ball. The Duke breaks it, asking not to talk about it, because it would be easier to forget. The blonde thought for some time whether he should interfere or not, since this is a woman's private matter, but in the end he acted completely differently. One way or another, there is no point in regretting an action, because it benefited some other person. Protection is always above all else. It turns out that the heroine could have hit the Baron earlier and not listened to all the insults. It must have been awkward for the acquaintance to peep from the very beginning. The lady didn't think that he was thinking about the fact that she. From now on, the The hero asks that he no longer see such an expression on the face of a lady who is crying bitter tears. Coming back to the room, the beauty looks at her sister. Most likely she was very surprised. The blonde did not believe that her ex-fiancé attacked Michelle. In fact, it really caused a lot of trouble. The girl caused too many troubles, and if not for the Duke, everything could have gone completely wrong. Everyone was worried, and although the realization makes your soul feel warm, there will also remain a strange feeling of stickiness and guilt. The girl falls asleep, and again hears a voice asking her to hurry. Opening her eyes, the first thing she sees is Timex sitting next to her. Apparently the same thing happened, but for some reason, the lady sees the teddy bear lying next to her and sees her normal body. Looking herself over from head to toe, the red-headed girl doesn't understand what's wrong. She touched the toy, but didn't get inside. The lady is glad that she is free, but then she hears the voice of the Duke. He believes that his friend is sleeping well, because now It's strange that the heroine ended up in this exact place. She hasn't appeared in that body for a long time. It will be suspicious if you don't wake up for too long. The man looks different than when he talks to Michelle. Radiance listens to who she resembles when she sleeps. In fact, this is her, only now without a spirit. The woman doesn't understand what the hero wants to do, because he gets out of bed and heads somewhere without saying a word at all. The ribbon depicts the imperial coat of arms, which is tied around the neck of the bear. The lady does not immediately understand whether the hero is really going to do something like that. Anyone who sees what is happening will think that the young man is clearly crazy. She is more suitable for one bear, which is strange. The girl didn't know this when she was in the doll's body, but now she sees a warm smile of hope blooming on her friend's face. A man loves a toy too much. He was in a lot of pain when he got burned one day, and he tells a story. For the Duke, this is not just a doll. If she doesn't speak again, the young man will think it's strange, so the heroine inhabits the bear again. The baby jumps up and begins to look around, adjusting the bow. Blue matches the color of the body much more than the other red. Michelle always seems too self-confident to others. The young man tied a ribbon to make her look cute, and the function has already begun. The hero's facial expression has changed, most likely due to the recent situation with the Baron. There are several things that bothered the guy today. The hero sighs, and finally talks about how he did several bad things that he later had to hush. This is not to say that it was absolutely terrible, but still the man was talking about a situation that should not be taken lightly. Sir Rongdenvi talks about deserters who seem to exist. Many left when they arrived in the Empire, and this is a minus. The imperial palace is the heart of the state. Many nobles arrived at that time. If this is a move that neither side knows about, it will be even worse. The Duke understands the situation, but he has no right to leave her alone just because of what is happening. He will have to strengthen security right now. Passing by the trees, the man hears the screams of the Baron, who is asking for the hands of a lady more than familiar to Rudwillian. The young man got a headache from the fact that they were fearlessly making noise right on the castle grounds. Something happens in just a split second. The girl grabs the plate and hits it on the guy's head. The blonde doesn't immediately understand what's happening, so he's horrified. A second later, the girl bursts into bitter tears. I thought that even if a person dies before her eyes, the lady would not think. But the expression on her face changed. The woman, contrary to her appearance, cried like a child. If the hero had intervened earlier, he would not have witnessed this. The person being talked about is the heroine herself, who was very lost in thought and completely forgot that she was supposed to say something. Most likely, what happened greatly shocked the blonde acquaintance and wondered how she felt after a while. The red-haired woman is still scared to remember that very moment, but the Duke didn't do anything wrong, but tried to help. It seems like it's still so hard for him. It's possible. That's why Misha doesn't even understand how hard she cried. The girl offers to give something to show her concern. Even so, it would be a bad idea. Others may misunderstand, but a gift as a way of comforting would be wonderful. As an example, we can take a toy that would also be a good friend for a lonely girl. Rudvillian remains skeptical. It's not harmful to dream about what they will answer. The baby doesn't listen to others and immediately starts arguing, which is even a little annoying. A doll that has blue eyes and beige color. Most importantly, Michelle wouldn't mind getting something like that. The girl promises that she will take a good look at the thing and find out the reason why she is being sucked in as soon as she gets her hands on it. The man assumes that the beauty is still offended. He said that he would take her with him to the duchy, but she seems to be trying to escape. Looking in surprise, the cutie asks to tell what exactly she is angry about, because the list is huge. There are so many problems that it is not clear which of them we are talking about. Life was always under threat, so there really were a lot of problems. There was no other way out of this. The girl thinks that they are going to grab her and beat her, but instead, they hug her, pressing her. The baby herself asked her to hug her, but now she seems to be resisting more than ever. She is behaving extremely strangely. The guy himself sewed up the wounds that the toy received so that she would no longer suffer from the pain that remained. The young man asks for forgiveness for yesterday. He does this for a reason, to help at least morally. It is quite difficult to understand a person. The bear is torn and already quite old, so you need to give something to support both the body and the condition, which is not working as it should. Sharply opening herself from her acquaintance's chest, the lady screams indignantly about how she was called. Of course, she doesn't like. The redhead dared to headbutt the Duke in the face and call him by his first name. This doesn't go as it should. Duke Redvillian is an impudent bastard who behaves even worse. The lady should realize her mistake. Waving her arms and legs, the heroine only angrily says that she will do something that will ruin the man's body. Timex asks to stay with him, because it will be the best choice. Something like this should be said to someone who will become his wife. A man expresses emotions poorly, but this is not the most important thing. Cecil, entering the room, raises his eyebrow in surprise. Only now does the Duchess remember that standing in front of her is a friend of the Duke, whom she knows wonderfully due to bad memories. The man does not answer the question about what happened at such a late hour. He asks why his friend is not sleeping. The blonde is trying to say something about what is being hidden from him. He is acting even more suspicious. The priest does not listen, saying that he has found a good option. The soul is in the body of a living person, and it is also called the psyche, consciousness. This kind of thing does not have any specific form. It is a valuable part of a person, which contains his essence. The soul leaves the body after death, sometimes for other reasons. There are times when it leaves the body even if the person is alive. You can control your movements with the help of a strong mind. Unlike the rest, it is somehow connected with the body, because it is full of vital energy. This does not induce any contact with forces or horror, but just as familiar, red-haired did not know about books with similar stories. The blonde doesn't quite understand the meaning, and would like to know how it applies to his friend, who is completely different. In fact, Michelle is a person. A doll that was fine for 10 years suddenly came to the palace and came to life, so it's true. The young man believes that a girl gains strength through long sleep during the day, and does not wait for the night when the body rests. The girl that the priest saw also had a burn. We are talking about the daughter of Count Radiance, Michelle, who was met by chance in the yard. The beauty is only now beginning to realize the problematic situation. The back of her head was burned, but she covered herself with her hair. The man demands the bear to say something to refute the words. She screams to say no, which will sound fierce. The baby has been a toy all her life, and she will remain so until the end of her days. She asks you to stop bullying, even in the form of words. To find out whether the girl is lying or not, you need to try leaving a burn on her nose, and this way it will become clear right away who is who. The Duke takes his friend and asks Cecil to stop. They are not going to cause pain that will only make things. Yesterday, the hero believed the man and used fire to injure an acquaintance. But again, he will not make the same mistake, which could become fatal. Timex believes what it hears and is going to make sure no one tries to test its guesses, which will be wrong. The girl knows that the Duke is a kind person, but in fact not really, because he will not care about someone who deceives him. Michelle decided that she was finished, so she was going to go somewhere far away tomorrow. She decided to go alone. Valerie, there's no point in worrying. Brandon should have already heard about what happened yesterday. But for some reason he stands there and is silent. It is impolite to return in the middle of a banquet, but in this case the maiden is going to go home first to save herself. Everyone will think that what happened was because of the incident with the Baron, so no one will ask unnecessary questions. What happened during 5 days in the castle, the maiden most likely will not forget until the end of her days. The blonde runs after her sister. She has to hurry, and it seems that her friend is going to go with her so as not to leave her alone. The beauty stayed in the castle for 4 days, and she was tired of it. She wanted to come home as soon as possible and eat the pumpkin pie that the chef would prepare. Just yesterday, the heroine was having fun with all her heart, but decided to do what she should have. Michelle asks for forgiveness. In fact, the heroine is really very sorry. She understands that Radiance is leaving because of what happened yesterday. The Baron was a coward for taking out his anger on a girl who wasn't to blame. Valerie had to come back and beat him again. It is not clear what would have happened if the Duke had not passed by on time. Perhaps everything would have ended rather pitifully, and not as it should have. As it turned out, the maiden hit the Baron to protect Redwillian, and also with a plate, because that's what he said. What was said looked completely implausible. It cannot be said that the girl is wrong in what she says. Michelle reads a lot of novels, and she doesn't even have enough imagination for something more plausible. We're talking about the Duke again. This situation would not have happened if they had not even started talking about him. The lady believed that he was a cold person, because everyone described him that way. The young man helped someone who needed it and was in trouble, which was already quite strange. He even apologized for what he didn't do. Most likely, the man is not so terrible. The Duchess met a friend through an unpleasant incident, but all this time they misunderstood each other. For a teddy bear, the hero treated him very kindly. I still haven't been able to thank him for all this. Shaking her head, the beauty tries to get thoughts of this man out of her head. It's worth thinking about why she's returning home in a hurry. Looking at Valerie, the lady notices how she smiles dreamily, looking out the window and, probably, thinking about the words spoken. The facial expression is very familiar. Gently introducing the topic, the woman asks if she happens to like the Duke they are talking about. People talk about the young man in a completely different way, so the blonde was interested and nothing more. She denies her sympathy. Something happened. The carriage clings to a bump, so Michelle flies towards her sister. She doesn't seem to have hurt herself, which is better. A man's hand reaches into the window. He shouts that this is a noble lady's carriage and tries to grab one of them. It seems that these are bandits, but the realization does not make it any easier because such people appeared right in front of the Imperial Palace. The boys take the girls outside. Michelle has no idea where the scum came from, but she's afraid it could get worse. Radiance is indignant, saying that they are the daughters of a count. If they need money, they can immediately get it, like Dawn, in exchange for freedom. Smiling, the brunette can only imagine how expensive such a wonderful specimen could be. He chose the right carriage. The redhead rushes forward, trying to get her sister to leave her alone. She doesn't watch her language because she doesn't understand what situation she's in. Smirking, the young man points to the blonde, who will only get worse. He has no more strength, so the lady faints and separates. Realizing that there is no choice, the red-haired girl looks around to understand where they even are. The beauty takes off, thinking only about what can be done to help her situation, which is extremely deplorable. Running into the main hall of the castle, the girl runs from one person to another, very much hoping that at least someone will help her, and that she will not be left to the mercy of. Virgo understands that she cannot do anything in this state. People simply cannot do anything either, because they do not see. You can try to find Brandon freezing. The heroine does not fully realize that her brother will not believe in the talking thing or animal. Even if the hero believes, this is the Imperial Palace, and without the king's permission, they cannot send troops. The image of the blonde man who helped last time and was nice all this time, trying to establish contact, pops up in my head just in time. Perhaps the Duke can control the knights without any permission. They are obliged to help each other and save Valerie, who is suffering. It's better to hide the secrets that remain, but the Duke can help one last time before the lady disappears forever. The spirit flies into Timex's room. The red-haired girl looks around and is glad that the bear remains in one place in the bed. As soon as the lady came to life again, she began to wake up the guy, but the priest suddenly grabbed her. He was holding a rope in his hands. The young man was right, because the girl appeared just in time. The blonde sits in a chair near the window, looking at his acquaintance with a strange look that expresses nothing. Bears are thrown tied at the feet of a guy who just turns away. The smell of oil is heard, which makes your insides clench from the realization of the horror of the whole situation. This time, it seems the Duke is going to burn the baby, so the lady immediately begins to apologize as soon as she is asked to speak. The girl does not admit that she was a spy. She conspired with the cultists to curse Timex. The blonde understands why he is talking about secret places in the room of the Emperor's nephew. He again asks why she came and why she is apologizing. Without saying anything else, Michelle falls silent, but then screams at the top of her lungs and asks for help, which also needs to be provided to her sister. The man jumps up, but this makes no sense, because he has no idea who this little girl's sister is. She reminds of the Radiance family. On the way home, the Duchesses met bandits. They took them both and took them somewhere. This is the capital, and, as a rule, there is no such horror there, but it seems not this time. The girl is not lying. They attacked them on the road and were huge in size. The escort was far away. Since this is the territory of the palace, Michelle thought that everything would be fine. The two noble ladies came out just as if they did not know about the problems. Everything happened because of the demonstrated inattention. The red-haired woman is sure that she was the only one to blame. On the last day of the ball, the ladies were returning home and were attacked. It would be more plausible to say that they were not bandits, but someone else. It seems that the young man knows approximately what happened, so he thinks about it. The priest cannot believe that the bear is Michelle. Not only has she become a living creature, there is no point in getting into the bear, so it would be better to explain herself before it is too late. The lady doesn't understand anything, and this is a weak excuse. In fact, the majority of the truth is always much less believed. If there is any truth to the story, then the noble lady is in trouble and should be helped. They can't be forced to be all alone. Going out to the horse, the hero says that he told more than 10 people about the operation. It's worth watching how events will unfold. A young man with bright green hair comes to the commander. Everything is ready, but the information may be erroneous, since the ladies only recently. Too many oddities can harm Roman, so there is no point in telling what is true and what is not so true. The blonde doesn't understand how so many people can gather in the event of an unexpected call. The mission is important, so it will be worth. The joke between the soldiers spreads, so everyone starts laughing. The Duke asks Radiance why she came to him. Her father, the Count, must still be in the imperial palace. It's easier for a man to gather knights, but compared to Radiance, it's different, because he would do anything to save his daughters. Redvillian could have easily refused and not helped, but for some reason they still came to him almost immediately. The redhead seems impudent, but she believes that only Timex will help her, and she could not help but believe in such a thing. If everything that has been said is true, nothing more is needed. The horse suddenly takes off from its place. The lady, right in the courtyard, the man and the rest of the soldiers are stopped by Rongdenwi, who asks where they are in such a hurry. He, as the escort of Princess Sasha, is obliged to monitor any movements that will be. Roman makes a joke that the savage cannot know about the movement. The man may need help, so you should walk right behind him. You can't count on Unbian's help, but he agreed. They went to the place and nearby noticed a broken carriage without people inside. Sitting down, the knight notices blood. This is not from cuts, but rather the consequences of a fight. Perhaps it belongs to the rider. The brunette does not understand what is happening and how the thieves could have appeared, while the bear is afraid to find out who exactly the blood on the ground belongs to. People stole the girls, so we can call them more likely to be bandits who planned what happened. They destroyed their traces. Obviously, a method had to be used to remove evidence at the resting place. It was used by the barbarians who came from the north. Rongdenwi doesn't think there's any reason to doubt evidence alone. Covering tracks is not unique to northerners. It will be difficult to blame the arrivals for the fact that these are their people. Redvillian begins to shout, saying that the ladies were kidnapped in a peaceful capital where this did not happen until 5 days after Sasha's arrival. The girl can't believe that those same people weren't bandits. Timex suddenly got angry with Rongdenwi, which doesn't bode well. Without realizing the situation, the lady hears one of the soldiers notifying the commander that no clues were found to determine the route. We need to continue looking for traces. If the northerners really did this, then there will be no evidence, so doing something like this would be as strange as possible. Such words are unlikely to help any of them. The bandits chose the path where they least travel and, most likely, followed the beat. If this is so, then there would be many witnesses, which would raise the noise as high as possible. In order not to anger the kidnappers, it is worth. The warriors who lived on the battlefield, if there had not been a drastic reason for it, would never have kidnapped those who live in the capital, especially women. Undoubts that these were his acquaintances. Because he hates the Duke personally, it is not clear who should be suspected. If the culprits are the soldiers who arrived with Rongdenwi, then he too will be punished according to the laws of the Empire, without even blinking an eye, because that will make sense. Despite the situation, in the event of a turnover, Redvillian will also be obliged to bear responsibility for what is happening. The bear leans out to observe what is happening. The little one can't believe that Timex could be in danger because of one way or another. The kidnapping of daughters from the Radiance family is a crime. If something goes wrong, you should prepare for the worst. Rushing forward and grabbing the man's elbows, the brunette asks who exactly was stolen. Both of them are now being held hostage in an unknown location. Obviously, Unbian expected to hear some other answer, since now he just stands and is silent. Disbelief is reflected in his eyes. Getting back on their horses, the crew heads forward. They notice that the road forks, in this case, they need to break up. The little girl nods her head when the blonde sits down on the ground and notices the earring. She is sure that this is Valerie's jewelry. Since a young lady was kidnapped, she probably left traces for her search. The blonde is sure that this is exactly the same blonde. The earrings that the Countess gave to the girl for her birthday are lying next to her. Since they were given with a new frame, no one else has them. The girl liked them so much that she remembered them, but now she wants to cry. The baby almost starts crying and shaking, but the man puts his hand on the bag. We just have to wait a little longer. The squad wandered somewhere into a clearing. No one is any more sure of the correctness of the path that was. The road is bumpy, so most likely you won't be able to travel further on horseback. You need to watch where to turn. There are traces of an attack, and not just one, and not two. If it were an animal, it would have left a larger trace. Looks like this is the right place. From now on, the horses will be left behind. The young man apologizes for not being able to pick up the girl, but promises that he will do so. The redhead promises herself that she will wait and take her word for it. She feels helpless even now. I always managed to get help only from Timex. The lady wanted not to disturb anyone and live in peace. But somehow something like this happened. The woman didn't cry when she was a bear, but now she wants to burst into tears. The voice assures that everything will be fine and asks you to cheer up. The lady herself does not realize what happened, because the body of the spirit is thrown to the ground, causing her to hit. The woman left her body, and all this because the bag was lying on the ground and was burning with a bright fire that was devouring the. Not understanding what is happening, the girl begins to get nervous. The Countess believes that there is no time until then, so she flies from above, trying to find the place of the bandits. Valerie's voice is heard talking about a brother who will take revenge. She is too noisy. One of the leaders assures him that he is not afraid of getting a few punches in the face. Hugging Michelle's body, the blonde says that she is weak. She was kidnapped, so they won't do anything, but they should call a doctor. Some man reaches out to Valerie because she is saying absurd things in her situation. The spirit flies sharply towards the body to return and defend it. Again, the red-haired girl decides to get into trouble. Coming forward, she shouts at them so that no one dares to touch her sister. The war is already over, so it's strange that something like this happens right in the middle of the day. The girl sighs, not understanding why she's doing this. These are really northerners who, hearing about the end, grab the maiden by the throat, shouting something in complete anger. The compatriots who died at the hands of the Imperial Knights will not be forgotten so easily, so there is no point in saying anything. The lady tries to call Timex for help, which of course will not come so soon. She resists, even if nothing works. The Empire trampled the homes of the northerners and only made things worse for them. There is no point in stopping, because the captured ladies will be sold to other countries. The man continues to fight Michelle, but the others seem to be getting fed up with everything that's going on. One of them throws a shoe, saying that they should stop. It looks like everyone wants to die, but the brunette doesn't have time to say anything else because he's being stabbed. Unbian asks the lady if she's okay. Sir extends his hand, which is stained with blood. He came to save his friends, but for some reason the lady became very scared. It's strange that Timex hasn't arrived yet. Rongdenvi will suffer alone, but the blonde is not going to let her sister go just like that. The girl continues to pray for the lady to stay by her side. This is no place for such a person who has lived in the castle all his time. Valerie is right. Shortly after this, the Knights of the Empire arrived and helped ensure that everything was resolved well. In such a situation, all that Radiance could do was sit and wait, as a friend in the body of a bear asked her to do. Examining the heroine's face, the man asks her to get up, since everything is already over. It's time to go back to the castle. We can talk later. Calling his compatriots, the young man asks them to take the women back to the horses and take care. Sister hugs Michelle. She doesn't understand how you can be so fearless. If something happened, it would only be worse. The girl steps back, but remembers the very name that the lady recently shouted when she was grabbed. In order not to answer the question posed, the red-haired woman says that she wants to say something to Unbian, whom she will see very soon. Walking further, the girl falls because the sharp pain does not help. It seems that she twisted her ankle, which now hurts. A beauty recently pushed her hand away when someone tried to help her. She asks for forgiveness because she was too rude. The accompanying person claims that the friend had every right to be afraid. In addition, when he fought alone, it was only possible to. The girl is really sorry, but the most important thing is that she is no longer afraid. With these words, the man picks up the beauty's body in his arms. If there's a reason Michelle should apologize, it's because he heard another man's name while rushing to help. The Duke stands aside, but is told that Radiance was badly injured and needs medical attention. The heroine claims that she is not in that much pain, but this is not true. She is brought into the estate, where the servants, and even more so the parents, are speechless. Approaching the bed in the room, the young man places his companion on the pillows. She needs a good rest. 5 minutes later, the whole family arrived at the chambers, looking even more worried. They can't believe the state in which they found their daughter. Redhead tries to get out of bed, but nothing works. She almost instantly falls back because of the pain. Michelle better not move without someone's support. Brandon is aggressive towards Unbian, asking how this happened. The brunette gathers strength to express everything that has accumulated. On the way home, the carriage was attacked by bandits. It looks like those people were trafficking men and women. The Duke captured them and is now investigating the case, even if it is a little complicated. The Countess asks in fear about Valerie. She was not injured, but the other one was brought in faster because the injuries were more serious. The blonde came to her senses and apologizes for starting to ask about another person when a child is sitting right in front of her. Asking the doctor for an assessment of the condition, the mother listens. There is bleeding, but mostly bruises, so there is no need to worry too much. Don't ask for forgiveness. It's natural for parents to worry about their children. Virgo couldn't be jealous of something like that. You will have to take medication and get a good night's sleep for a few days. The exact circumstances are not yet. We are talking about how Redvillian found out about the danger and went there. The Count was in the palace and did not know that his children were kidnapped, but the man was faster. Perhaps the Duke knew that the kidnapping was planned. Brandon asks not to make hasty conclusions. Thieves kidnapped a lady right near the palace. Due to a strong blow, the beauty lost consciousness, after which she moved into the body of a bear and asked for help. No one will believe it. Moving closer to Michelle, says that this doesn't seem entirely transparent to him either. Something didn't go according to the plan of whoever planned it. The Duke found out about the kidnapping and easily found the location. The lady also could not have known that Timex would arrive at the scene. The girl is trying to come to her senses, but her head is forming a picture of how everything is happening. She realized that she had made a mistake. After all, the red-haired woman was just desperately calling for the Duke when Sir Rongdenwy arrived, and he witnessed. The couple may have planned the kidnapping together. If this is not the case, then the man apologizes for being too reckless. The young man completely misunderstood everything and began to draw conclusions. Not intending to listen, the brunette says that her family is waiting for an acquaintance. The face the hero makes when he says he's forced to leave doesn't express any confidence. He hopes he's wrong. He and Timex now have a whole bunch of problems that will be difficult to deal with. Intentional kidnapping for no reason is strange. Those people really were from the land of cold and snow, so the lady does not understand why they did what they did. It looks like the case is getting more complicated. Valerie and Michelle will be taking a lot of depositions in order to resolve the case. The boy asks you to try not to be discouraged, even if it is difficult. The lady cannot imagine what will happen next. Transforming into a spirit that was freed again after the start of the dream, the girl runs into her friend. Virgo watches as the young man enters the room and looks around. He exhales heavily with anger. It seems that the hero is very angry because he indignantly notices that the beauty dared to run away and leave behind only ashes. The boy understood everything completely wrong. There is no point in being angry, but this is precisely what becomes the first Redvillian told the girl to have faith and wait, but she acted on her own. He saved her, but in return, she simply disappeared without saying goodbye. Lord Rongdenwy also interfered. The lady realizes that in the bag, it seems, even all the artifacts that were. Walking closer to the bed, the blonde begins to undress. He gradually takes off his shirt, getting ready to sleep. There was a feeling of déjà vu. The heroine needs to explain herself, but she has no idea what to do since the toy was burned. When the beauty returns to her body, she will definitely not be able to go to the room on the 4th floor. The Countess will definitely ask. The last option remains. Sitting down on a chair, the guy opens a bag in which only one thing survived. On that very battlefield, Unbian killed his soldiers without remorse because they acted in a terrible way. The guys who were found in this area were already wanted for the way they behaved and for crimes. Those gathered cannot fail to know Unbian, so it would be good to talk with him, even if this does not happen on the campaign. The peace treaty, according to others, is ridiculous. Such temporary measures cannot stop the war. Hostility towards the imperial people is understandable, but this cold attitude already seems too terrible. Hearing some sound, the hero gets up to open the window sashes. He also opens the curtains and sees a bird. Before this, the girl was sucked into a toy, but somehow she herself can choose her own body in which to be. No matter how hard she tried to avoid this, she again ended up in a small body. Now the bird is sitting on the windowsill, on the other hand, trying to say something, making funny sounds. Sparrow says that there was no guilt, even if others think so. Although the animal's body is different, the lady asks for forgiveness on her knees. The blonde asks to hear an explanation. It is necessary to tell why the lady possessed a teddy bear and came to him. This is a long story, but there is a lot of time, so you can start the story from the very beginning. Sighing, the heroine is about to— It's not the same bloody face as before, but it's still scary. The story begins when the little girl was only 6 years old. She fell down the stairs and lay in bed unconscious for a whole month. I don't remember exactly, since it happened a very long time. From the very time a girl sleeps or loses consciousness, her soul leaves her body. Thus, the heroine can borrow the body of an animal or a person and do what she wants. A lady can even get into a person's body. Even if it is extremely rare, he must be weak or afraid of ghosts. Since then, Michelle has been wandering from side to side at night and waiting alone for the morning. This continues. Perhaps this is normal, because the body rests while the mind is awake. Even that night, the lady walked around the guest palace to see the Imperial. The book that Cecil brought was similar to what was happening. The girl entered the room by chance, but without invitation. The woman could not think that the Duke lived there. The room above was empty, so it became interesting. Due to the fact that there was no one, the beauty went to look around, and in the end, she was sucked into the bear. This was not on purpose. After the incident, the baby appeared inside the bear every night. She could not get out and heard voices. The teddy bear was as strange as possible. Now the heroine wants to ask something from Timex himself. Now the red-haired girl wants to know why the toy was named Buell. It seems that this is the name of the boy's younger sister, as he already said. The heroine listens to silence, but then the blonde finally asks, "Would you believe him if he said something about ghosts?" From the age of 18, the man was on the battlefield. One day he almost died because he was hunting the head of the rebellion. There he was wounded. There was always a shortage of medicines and clinics at the front, so instead of being treated, the young man lay and was sick. On the third day, while there was a cordon due to the temperature, someone touched him. When he opened his eyes, he saw his sister. There was no point in being afraid, because it was his sister. At first it seemed that she was trying to take the hero with her, but the next morning he woke up and the same bear was in his hand. Since then, the Duke has had speculation that the girl's soul is in the body of the toy, even if this is absurd. However, it's hard to believe that Michelle didn't want to seize the bear's body. He saw a lot of spies during this war. Even with a cute face, people can seem evil. Pretending to be a doll was apparently necessary for safety. Even if the explanation is clumsy, it is still most likely true. If the girl nevertheless decided to deceive, then congratulations to her, but she actively assures that she could not do that. After the heroine's identity was revealed, she began to address him more respectfully, and previously called the man by name. This is because the bear was a friend of the Duke. It was a gift from Buell, especially since they had been together for about 10 years. Now that the lady has been exposed, she has become disgusted. She has no right to be treated the way she did before. No matter how mysterious the doll is, the 28-year-old man does not consider it a friend. The girl doesn't have many friends, so she didn't know. Something like this wouldn't make it bad anyway. Bullying lady gets the better of her because she's too small. Even the way the bear cried, saying she was sorry, was pretty funny. It wasn't because of her sister's gift. The man thought Michelle was funny, and he liked listening to her. Existence itself was funny. The next morning, the couple arrived at His Majesty. As it turned out, he was already expecting both of them in his chambers as soon as possible. Michelle is not obliged to say anything, because her sister will say everything for her, so as not to cause even more problems that will not resolve. The girl was told that this was the place where she was testifying about yesterday's incident. There is a tense atmosphere in the hall, which puts a lot of pressure on her. While tracking down the thief, the Duke was informed about the kidnapping. As it turned out, he was also interrogated in the same way as the others, all because the heroine asked for help. It was too fast. So they also suspected him, and now they won't leave him. The young man did not patrol outside the capital, which makes the situation even more ambiguous. Despite all doubts, it was exactly as they say. Redhead comes forward, asking for a chance to add something too. She understands what she's going to do for everyone. No one will believe if you tell the truth, so you have to lie again. In fact, it is the lady's fault that the man interfered. The heart did not calm down after the incident with Baron Young. That is why Radiance asked to return to the mansion a day early. Since the matter caused Duke Redwillian a lot of trouble, it was inconvenient to leave without even saying goodbye. The woman asked the Duke to go outside the southern gate. Since the sister decided to go with the girl, they never saw each other. Since his girlfriend did not come to the meeting, the young man most likely found it strange and went in search almost immediately. If this is true, the Emperor does not understand why they did not meet. If the girl did not see the one she wanted, she had to go back. The main character has an excuse even for this case. As everyone knows, she is not a purebred member of the Radiance family. If you show weaknesses, you can get the best. The family cherishes the girl, but this does not change the fact of origin. Even if the girl called Timex with a brief desire to say goodbye, it could spread the rumors. Nothing should have tarnished the family. Because of the recent incident, the Radiance family was on everyone's lips. The heroine thought that she needed to be as careful as possible. Most of all, she didn't want to involve her sister. Rumors like this spread quickly and change as people please. Everything should look plausible, but it will become known very soon. The desire to protect the honor of the family has caused many misunderstandings. The woman did it, and in the end, everything turned out just fine. She apologizes for the misunderstanding. In any case, Michelle is a victim. The Duke tried to deceive the king, even if he was trying to protect his girlfriend. In the corridor, the blonde man is about to say something, but the red-haired woman says that she will not accept any thanks. Timex has protected her so far, so it's her turn to do something good, at least once. Sighing, the hero turns away. The interlocutor again speaks informally, although she recently abandoned this. The lady has no middle ground, but she knows that the man likes it that way. He said a lot of unnecessary things the day before. I remember that the hero said that from the very beginning the girl was really extremely unpleasant to him. During yesterday's incident, when he saw the girl with that expression, he was a little puzzled. It was cute. A woman should never make a face like that because a man felt guilty. No matter how crazy it may sound, the young man saw in his new girlfriend some similarities with the bear, and not only in character. When the identity was revealed, it confirmed the guesses. It turns out that the Duke did not hate the redhead. This still has not changed. If others hear, they will say that this is madness. But this is exactly how the hero feels. He cannot change any. I can't believe that Timex actually mistook the girl for his family. She flies straight into his face to hug him, but hits him. The beauty does not rely on anyone. She also likes to be close to the young man and thought that she was hated at that time. There was no need to show any attentiveness and affection in the body of the bear, since it seemed that the Duke only wanted to see her as a toy. The problem of the interlocutor is the inability to control her emotions. This is not because she is to blame, but this happens. The heroine always behaves courageously at such moments. The Virgin has never been scolded like this before, so she laughs. The man is not going to leave it all just like that. He is furious, so he cannot endure this. All because Timex sincerely cares and worries about his new friend. He just doesn't want to admit it. Now I want to know how the lady coped with an unfamiliar man. At least a girl should not sleep in the same bed with just anyone. The woman believed that the boy would not do anything because he was a good person. He looks intimidating, but in fact, he is the friendliest of all. Virgo adores. Freezing. The hero asks in surprise what this is all about. The girl asks you to take care of her, not like the toy in which the man doesn't believe that this person was called Ice Rose. He can't handle her even more than when she was in the doll. Michelle is distracted from the conversation because her father and Valerie are walking forward along the corridor and are approaching. Duke Redwillian promises that they will talk next time. He greets the Count as sternly as possible. The child has been feeling bad for the second day, so the blonde wants to take her away. It seems that the father is angry for no reason. There is nothing else left, Boeing. The hero says that he will wait for the lady, and she can come in as soon as she falls asleep. It will be forbidden to wander around in the form of a spirit, so the man asks when she arrives to enter something so that she can talk. The princess is also involved. The culprit was a deserter from her army. Sasha interviewed all the knights, but no one identified the culprit. Everything from fencing to tactics is the way of the army from the north, so Un doesn't quite understand how it works. Duke Redwillian enters the conversation. Those who deserted due to random emotions cannot use the imperial language skillfully. The people were attacked not only because of revenge. If this is to create a picture of the military attacking the residents, then someone else is behind them. The woman got out of the situation perfectly, but but does not understand why Radiant Sr. is angry. He is dissatisfied. The Virgin wants to say something, but the father asks not to make excuses because the child is dressed well, which means she had a reason. All the man asks is a promise. A hero would never do anything that could cause harm, even by pure accident. It's better to never talk to Timex again. The young man believes that this is the very decision that was made, and he, like a father, respects the girl. The blonde cannot believe the one who forced his daughter to lie. It seems that what happened in the hall has finally surfaced. The hero asks to keep a promise, but not intending to lie, the lady only says that she cannot make such a promise. The girl assures that the guy would never harm her. She doesn't even want to think about something so terrible, because it's very scary to realize. Sighing, the count still agrees to what the girl says, because in any case he has no choice. Upon returning home, the lady will be prohibited from going out for some time. Timex said that he will wait after sleep. Mother promised that she would explain everything to the other ladies. It's time to go home in the morning, but this time with an escort. Judging by the expression on the blonde's face, something happened. She waves it off, but only asks what kind of relationship she has with the Duke. The girl became interested after she told about the meeting with him and what happened between them. Everything is said only because of the help. Virgo apologizes for deciding to speak out like this. She is clearly worried about what she said recently. Brandon, who has been silent all this time, says that Redwillian is a good person. He saw him when he was training as a knight. The young man from the imperial family, however, is not at all arrogant. Sometimes he is just a little meticulous and puts the lives of his subordinates first. A man also always solves problems on his own, accepting responsibility. Brandon was an aspiring knight. Valerie teases, saying that he didn't even take part in the competition. You can say this as much as you like, because the blonde is... There are other positions besides knighthood. Since after the incident, the lady realized what it was like to risk her life, she says nothing more. War is much more dangerous and terrible than it seems. Virgo thinks that you need to force yourself to become a knight. For his brother, there are other things in which he will become the best. The blonde notices that he and Timex say about the same things. The girl can't help but smile on her face. She wants to have as much in common with her friend as possible in order to become best friends. Having become a sparrow again, the beauty noticed that the window was open. He probably left it in case Michelle came. It was necessary to somehow surprise the boy, but he almost immediately grabs the bird as soon as it flies into the room. The baby arrived just recently, but it's impossible not to be surprised if she comes without warning, which will remain aside. The girl was about to say hello, but it seems that something went wrong. The body is unconscious. The best solution was to take medicine and sleep well, which will help. The rest of the family are preparing to return home. Only the Duke has the right to remain in the palace. Although he does not seek to do so, he wants to say something else. Lowering the bird onto the table, the hero orders him to fold his legs, raise his wings, and his head a little higher. The feeling is as if this is the punishment that it is. The baby begins to tweet something indignantly. I want to start screaming more than ever. But the hero closes his beak with his fingers so that it doesn't open again. A man remembers what happened in the Emperor's chambers. The girl came and decided everything, but it is not clear what the king thought. The excuse was perfect, but there was no evidence. The better the content is composed, the more false it will be. Without evidence, the story will be remembered as a well-crafted lie. But one way or another, Timex came under suspicion. The emperor should never even try to deceive, no matter what. If His Majesty knew everything and succumbed, If everyone thinks that they are in cahoots, then the blame will lie with Michelle. That is why the father did not want the couple to meet. The young man apologizes, because he just wanted his point of view to be understood. No longer hearing anything, the lady begins to cry. Stupidity is above all. It is not surprising that a friend swears and gets angry, although a friend just wanted to help. The girl is wondering if she should start crying. She's not sure about birds crying, but maybe it's the best option. They said it doesn't matter, so baby is going to at least try. Repeating his stupidity, Radiant still cannot calm down, even if the hero claims that there is no point in it. The blonde said a little exaggeratedly, because he didn't know that the friend would be so scared. What they did made me a little happy. The young man was delighted that the heroine decided to stand up for him, even if she did something wrong. No one else would definitely have taken the side of the famous Duke of Cold, although in words, it was felt that they wanted to help him. This happened for the first time, which even struck me to the core. It was a strange experience, but no less valuable. A smile is not the reaction that the heroine expected, but now she feels relief from what was said. A priest enters the room without knocking. He asks what his friend is doing, but he reproaches him, leaving the bird aside. The young man wanted to make some kind of surprise, so he hides his hands behind his back. He asks about the sparrow. The animal is alert because it shifts from place to place and examines what is shown to it. Without saying anything else, the acquaintances hand over a new bear, which looks exactly the same. The girl is attacked by horror. She rushes at the man, saying that this is evil that should not have been brought back in any other form. The burnt thing again ended up in the same place, which is already starting to irritate Virgo, almost because the guy failed. The doll was made by Cecil's mother. He is a nobleman, and this is one of his family's enterprises where they found a replacement for Buell. The young man's family has long been forgotten, but this does not mean that they have the right to insult him like this, almost openly. These toys are sold by the priest's family. It seems that Michelle is still attached to the toy, so she doesn't quite understand how it works. The mother had the last example left, while the rest were sold long ago. Somehow it ended up in the hands of the Duke's daughter. Virgo seems to have seen it somewhere, but cannot remember. If this was sent to every kingdom, then to Radiance County. The man searched the warehouse and found only one. It was made a long time ago, but was preserved almost like new. Perhaps the heroine wants to take the thing, but this will not happen, because the sparrow did not like it from the very beginning. To be honest, the priest doesn't think he did anything wrong. Team X's safety is much more important than Michelle's. A lot of terrible things have happened because of the blonde, so he apologizes sincerely for all the bad. I can't believe that what was said was sincere. Laughing lightly, the man pretends to cough and says that he will. It seems that the couple is at the same time, but for now, the hero is going to ask the woman about her stay in the body of the girl had to be afraid that her identity would be revealed. To her acquaintances, she was nothing more than just a spirit. No one would have liked it. The young man would probably also feel lousy if he were called an arsonist and a murderer. The Virgin asks about the life of a priest. He became one at the age of 16, 17, and this is different from a noble mansion, but still not terrible. Those who wish can enter and live there. But the heroine is not very interested in this. I would like to joke that she also decided to do something similar. This will be true as soon as Valerie gets married. The Duke does not understand whether it will be because of faith or if there is another reason. The temple is not a place that could be recommended to anyone not familiar with the environment. The reason cannot lie only in appearance, and it seems that the sparrow still remembers this joke. The girl behaves like this only with Cecil Timex as normal, even if the little girl was afraid the first time they finally met. Perhaps what was said was too much, because the hero almost spills tea from his mug. This is a normal reaction. It's better than looking weak and having everyone tell you something isn't right for you. Even Brandon said the man is a very good person. Turning away, the blonde claims that he did not ask for compliments. It seems that he involuntarily scares women, and it's time to work on it. Of course, it was possible to try to behave responsibly, but if others feel bad, it's not a good idea. They moved away from the topic because the maiden didn't answer why she wanted to go to the temple. Come to think of it, there was something else they didn't tell. The girl remembers how they thought of her as a spy who tried to kill Timex. Now I want to hear an explanation. That morning, when the blonde woke up, he checked the room and found a secret place in the ceiling. He climbed up there. From there came many religious objects, which were mainly used during religious ceremonies in the land of snow and ice. Among everything, there were drinks and letters written in blood, as well as things of an unknown special. The man doesn't believe in curses, but he believed that someone had evil intent. When the lady went there on the first day, she didn't find any. Poison came out of the glass of water that the man used. As the maiden sees, the man is fine, but it was scary. The incident was not reported to His Majesty. The Duke tried to track down the culprit, but failed to catch the one who was behind it. The only thing that carried at least something like that was a talking bear. So again, I want to apologize for my behavior in the past. Poison in the palace may already carry a bad omen. The priest asks Radiance if she knew about the secret room. As it turns out, the girl saw her, which means she came down. She can walk through walls, which makes moving around easy. It's interesting how what's happening sounds, and it seems that both became interested in what the beauty's soul looks like. Cecily can't imagine, but for sure, just like before going to bed, if you can't touch anything, then the spirit is just floating. Similar to what has already been said, because when you touch, you feel a coldness that does not go away immediately. This, on the contrary, is good information, because when the blonde feels discomfort, he will be able to understand that a friend has come. Again, changing the topic from what they are discussing, He again asks about the reason related to the temple. The temple always stole something. Sometimes a sister, sometimes a friend. Everything you can get there is just a blessing in words. Being a minister is like living in a cage. Impossible to leave the premises, let alone get married. The lady decided to take such a step because no one would want to marry her anyway, because she is an illegitimate child. By nature, the heroine is stupid, and also not a beautiful blonde with blue eyes. The scars still remain, and it's simply impossible to like this. The Duke believes that marriage does not matter, because you can work and live alone. As a daughter from such a family, the girl could become an etiquette teacher. As it turned out, the little girl doesn't even know how to embroider, so she won't be able to teach someone the way she's required to. In the temple, you will have to give up your title. If the guy had a good family, he would not even come close to that place. Redhead would have thought about it if she had some other option. There's no point in worrying for now. It became very dark outside. The lady herself didn't notice how quickly time flew by. Without letting her friend finish, the little girl suddenly flies out of the window like the wind and says that she urgently needs to go back. The girl was told that they were leaving in the evening, so everyone would be worried if the lady didn't wake up. They'll see each other next time. The next meeting will be very soon, or at least after a while. They cannot completely lose contact. The loneliness that fills the heart devours from within. Virgo has the right to leave the room, but she has no reason to rush somewhere. Until complete recovery, the red-haired woman must maintain bed rest. She does not feel tired. The Countess is about to leave. If anything is needed, she can always be called, and Valerie will also be back soon. We need to make sleep an excuse so that the others will fall behind. The ban on going outside is too strict. The girl can't sleep, but she hears footsteps coming nearby. She can't believe that a thief appeared in the middle of the day. While the man turned away, the little girl jumped onto the bed and threw the blanket forward to catch the bandit. A man's voice asks you to wait because he doesn't want to do anything wrong. They need to speak normally. The beauty feels incredibly strong because the moments are coming back. The guy asks her to calm down again. Roman came on the orders of the Duke. He is silent, but then still tells how everything happened regarding the conversation. The girl saw the man when she was a teddy bear. If he is here on the Duke's orders, he might as well come through the door instead of the... There is nothing difficult to get to the second floor. The young man ordered something needed for the lady to be brought from the room. It doesn't matter what exactly you can take, because the most important thing is that the thing is from the room. There is no need to worry. Ever since the captain called to save young Michelle, the knight noticed that the two of them had a special relationship. They're good friends, but they're not dating. If there's a trinket, Timex will be there to give it back. The book lying on the table may well be suitable. There is nothing wrong with lending it to a friend to read. Valerie knocks on the room. She didn't expect that her sister was awake, but still asks her to open it while Sir hides. It seems the beauty lied because she wanted to be alone again. She has a guest who is waiting to meet her. Unbian arrived to talk to the blonde, who is most interested, so he waits for the girl to quickly go downstairs. They didn't talk much to Rong Denhui. A young man emerges from under the blood and asks if they know each other. Roman asks you to be careful. That man was the one who led the killing squad on the battlefield. The lady doesn't know how many soldiers he killed with a calm face. Contrary to what the cute brunette looks like, he is a brutal killer who doesn't pay attention to others. This is precisely the essence of war. Although the heroine never saw him on the battlefield, everyone knows that they went to fight for their country. The lady is not trying to justify the murder, but it was definitely for the sake of protecting the state and her family. As a protected person, the girl has no right to criticize anyone. The beauty's grandfather and uncle were warriors too. Everyone knows that they left great legends behind them. Roman changes the subject, again clarifying whether they are really just friends with the captain. Hearing another confirmation, the hero exhales with relief. It's nice to know that there is nothing to worry about. In this case, you can do what you planned. The boy kisses the red-haired girl on the cheek. He will definitely show that such a deep and strong relationship. After promising that the book will be safe and sound, Roman climbs through the window and runs away as quickly as possible. The girl was thinking about something and didn't even hear anyone address her. She was also surprised by this, like everything else. The blonde is worried. Perhaps Michelle is unwell, since she behaves like this, periodically disappearing from reality. The situation is heating up, and it would be best to postpone the conversation until later. A man touches the forehead of his interlocutor. If a girl has a fever, the sister can call the doctor. But she stops her almost immediately, because she doesn't see any point in such a thing. Valerie has already run away, ignoring everything they told her. It's awkward when they are alone. If you think about it, the heroine didn't even ask about the purpose of Unbyan's visit, and it really must be important. The lady should be healthy until they become friends in 10 years. Apparently the guy still remembers everything. As you can see right away, everything is fine with the heroine, so she does not need sympathy, which she did not even ask for in the first place. The young man grabs his hand. He realized that his friend is not comfortable with him, so she always tries to run away to When a man and woman who are not in a relationship continue to date, rumors may start. The brunette asks what exactly the rumors say. He asks because he knows something is wrong. The knight behaves properly. She doesn't like him on purpose, and that's why it's clear that there will always be excuses. Ordinary immoral gossip is the worst thing, but the hero continues to say that the meeting itself is also unpleasant. It seems the man is trying to persuade him to stay so he can talk to Valerie longer. There's nothing to add to the conversation, so it's not fun at all. If Rong Denhui continues to be annoying, it wouldn't be best to say it to his face. In order not to delay any further, the red-headed girl asks if he likes his sister. It's better to answer right away correctly, as it is. It's not that the girl doesn't like the brunette at all. He has a chance, but it's not clear about his brother, who won't, like his father, allow everything. Trying to stop the flow of words, the hero does not understand what this conversation is about. The lady obviously does not understand the truth. They came to Valerie for a different reason. Initially, the man said that he came to see Michelle. The hero chatted with the other every now and then, but this is because the lady is too quiet. The knight arrived only to talk with the red-haired. The lady remembers everything that she managed to accomplish in a short period of time. She even mistook him for the gardener for the first time. Then it turned out that there was a refusal to be friends, and the girl always ran away from the conversation that was started. Indeed, nothing is clear. Sister is a nicer person who is very sociable with others. Lady Michelle reminds me of someone. She had beautiful hair and rolling eyes. Looks aren't the only reason. Besides everything else, the soul suggests a very strong similarity in character and thoughts in general. Everyone has values, but few people put them into practice. The girl always adheres to her standards and is generous to others. This outfit reveals more of the lady's sweet personality. There was nothing special about picking up that bird. The more the man met his girlfriend, the more convinced he became. It cannot be said that they are alike in everything, because the characters are completely different. The woman who saw the battlefield was tougher than most men, and she died young. In fact, Unbyan remembers nothing at all, since records about that person were found after his death. There are no personal belongings of that maiden left, but now the hero can watch the face of a beauty who behaves like this every day. The pendant depicts a girl with a stern face. She looks like Michelle and was universally recognized as a beauty. A woman knows too little about her beauty, even if she thinks such jokes are more suitable radiance. The beauty looks wonderful and makes you fall in love even more every time. Looking straight into the eyes, the brunette asks for a kiss. Instead of nodding and accepting what is offered, the lady refuses. She didn't know that in the north they kiss for no reason. The brunette asks for forgiveness for doing this. He just wanted to express his feelings that were hidden inside. The young man begs the girl to return, but she quickly runs away. In the north, it is obvious that such things are indeed. The girl is afraid of what will happen next. No one has ever offered her anything like this, and she is terribly afraid of what will happen next. While the red-haired girl was thinking about her first love, she didn't even notice her actions, which she had no control over. The lady came at night to meet Red William, but it seems he had already returned to the duchy. A girl sees through the window a new bear, on which a new ribbon of exactly the same blue color is tied. Due to the fact that the window was closed, it was difficult to get through. The girl still comes in and inhabits the toy. The bear's capabilities have now increased, and this can be felt even in the paws, which seem to have become strong. A blond man enters the room on time, tiredly straightening his tie. He can no longer stand on his feet because he wants to sleep. Noticing something strange, the hero catches it in the dark, but sees in front of him a bear trying to kick with all his might. The girl is in pain, so she screams to let her go. A sweet smile shines on her face from what she sees. The new doll is in excellent condition, but it is damaged. Near one of the paws there is a burn that was caused by a I had to move in because the bear was too cute. But there was a surprise with a cat. I had to come from the county. There was no particular reason, but it seems that someone really wanted to see the beauty. The young man himself wanted to meet, so he asked his subordinate to meet and pick up the little thing. Surprise suggests that this is not true. That guy allowed himself too much, and it's unclear why he even kissed just like it was normal. Blushing, the girl also remembers Rongdenvi. She had a rather embarrassing day that she doesn't even want to remember. Addressing Timex without any shame, the lady asks if he kissed in the north or if it was completely normal. The red-haired woman didn't hear this. She only knows that customs and manners are different from people from the empire, which is logical. Meeting there and parting is not such a big loss. Mishka is outraged that they are so frivolous about the engagement. The main thing is that they meet and separate before marriage. They say that in many cases, a child is born out of wedlock. The woman does not understand how this is possible, so she will remain shocked. There you can separate, because feelings have separated. It turns out that illegitimate children are common there. The man asks what's wrong because he doesn't quite understand. The door opens. The ringing voice belongs to Sir Roman, who opens the door with his foot and calls the captain. It turns out that His Majesty gave a special bonus. Everyone is excited and ready to go to the bar, so we can all go together. The young man asks to go without him, and he will come down a little later. It's not clear whether it's normal to burst into the captain's room like that without knocking. Virgo just hopes that the guy will get away quickly, or at least send the soldier out. He notices a bear on the table. The boy smiles, because he would never have thought that there could be dolls in the captain's room that he plays with. Trying not to shake, the lady begs not to approach. Already holding out his hand, the hero continues to say something along the way. The blonde has already said, "Change your attitude. You should show more respect," but they almost never listen to him. Even if the item looks old, it may be extremely valuable to someone, so remaining silent is the best choice. If a boy offends people with such actions, this will affect his reputation. You should not forget about this at all. Changing the subject, the interlocutor says that while carrying out an assignment, he ran into Lady Radiance and seemed to fall in love at first sight. Roman heard that they are good friends, so he tells how he showed his feelings by sending a kiss on the realizing that the captain has frozen and is standing in complete silence. The boy is about to leave, saying that he will wait below. Stopping the soldier halfway, the man agrees that the lady is beautiful and understands why she became his first love. As a gentleman, the hero must first think about how the woman feels, because touching without consent is not the best solution. If Radiance says she doesn't want to, she can't be forced. Roman is a strong man and a soldier, so relentless advances equal a threat. As he walks away, the guy shouts that he knows, because she's already an adult. She's the daughter of a great count, so it's worth showing respect. In this case, the young man is still going to leave, but right at the door, the captain hits him in the back, thereby pushing him out. Redwillian thought that there was a beetle sitting on his back, so he did just that. The boy looks around. If the young man comes to the girl again, she has the right to hit him on the cheek or in the crotch. Timex may bear full responsibility, but now he sits with a pouty face, as if he was offended. The girl wants to say something, but she is uncomfortable saying it. The interlocutor assures that there is no need to tell anything, since it is not her friend's fault. The baby didn't come to entertain a friend, so she can relax and not worry. Lowering her eyes to the floor, the beauty asks if what was said earlier is true. He considers the lady beautiful, judging. Perhaps the young man needs to repeat himself in order to be believed in him. This should matter. The lady, socialite and famous ice flower, must know that she is beautiful, because many people say so. A man used to say that Michelle was scary, and, unfortunately, she still remembers it, even if she would like to forget. Frighteningly beautiful is a good description of how a young man feels about his girlfriend. In fact, the heroine never considered herself wonderful. Her hair and eyes are red, and not like Valerie's with that lady was also beautiful when they met. She is ideal by the standards of the Empire, and most likely the North too. It doesn't mean that the sister is ugly, she doesn't seem to like red, but some color can be an exception to the world. You can judge a person by how he looks, but everyone knows that appearance is not the most important thing. Mishka says what she thinks. Although she is not always confident in herself, despite everything, she continues to humiliate herself, which is strange. The lady thinks he doesn't want to marry her, but rumor has it that Ice Rose will laugh at proposals and burn them. Gossip that you can freeze anyone's heart with 5 words is not such gossip. Even if appearance is not taken into account, the heroine is the Count's precious youngest daughter. If only she knew her worth, she would not humiliate herself so much. Even if the blonde gives hundreds of compliments, she won't care. The stigma of having an illegitimate child will not go away until the end of days. Timex doesn't know her family well, but he didn't see the father embarrassed or ashamed of his daughter. He sincerely cares about everyone. Virgos don't care about being treated well, because their conscience tells them to be more grateful every time they do it. If Radiant started talking about her rights in this family, the others would condemn her for her arrogance. They don't care who she is. People want to find someone they can point a finger at. If the appearance were similar to the family, maybe it would somehow be justified. This red hair is different. Virgo has not been able to sleep even once since she was 6 years old after the incident. Waking up alone in the middle of the night, the lady could see those who spoke of the generosity of the gentleman for accepting the child. No one believed that the Count could leave such a wife and find another. No matter how the little girl tried to run away, the words reached her again. What makes it even sadder is that everyone in the family is as kind as everyone else should be. If the lady had been bullied, the family would have stood up. The heroine decided to live her life peacefully. And if it exists like this, there should be no problems with rumors. I wish there was nothing to show the public's interest. The best option turned out to be the same. This is exactly how Radiance lived, almost all the time remaining as invisible as possible to society. The blonde extends his palm to the bear's face. When he was little, his father, a former duke, often scolded him over little things. He said that the baby shows a lot of emotions, and in order to subdue the others, it was necessary to be more calm. At that time, Timex admired and considered the words true, so he tried not to show emotions as he was told. Later, my mother said the same thing. The guy is the one who will rule, and let him be called cruel. But the reason for everything was circumstances. There will always be people who will be unhappy. No matter what path is chosen, and it doesn't matter whether the words make sense or not. You can't please everyone in life. You shouldn't stop, so you need to go your own way, doing what you think is necessary. Actions should not come from someone's expectations, but from desires that appear. People will become friends, and some will become enemies, and that's normal. The girl doesn't understand what to do if she hates her hair, just like everyone else. The man advises to open your heart and love this color, even if nothing works out. The heroine laughs slightly. A girl stands near the window and looks at the sky. Her sister runs up from behind and hugs the beauty from the back. If you are so bored that you want to look out the window, you can find something interesting and, for example, finally read what was planned. The heroine likes novels and points to one about knights because she thinks it's about them. The blonde brought several options that she liked. She doesn't vary much in literature. Stretching out her palms and grabbing the maiden's cheeks, the heroine begins to find out what happened to Rongdenwi when she left. Valerie brought the doctor, but Unbian had already left, just like the redhead who had disappeared. We were talking about free love. We heard something similar from friends from the north. There are no such concepts as betrothal, and if they love each other, they become lovers. This sounds very romantic, obviously. At this rate, it will even be possible to kiss. The heroine jumps up sharply and asks if her sister kissed Un. According to her, it almost happened. Valerie thought she liked the man, but this is not the case. Looking at the blonde, the woman asks about her plans for the day. It seemed that if you went outside, something good would happen. This could not be a prophecy, because the girl was tired of sitting at home. As they gather for lunch, Dad starts asking questions first. Michelle looks like she's incredibly bored. Sitting in the room must be a little suffocating. Now that the girl is much better, she can go out for a walk in the garden. The lady thanks her, but says that she really doesn't need anything. The servant distracts her from the conversation, saying that a guest has arrived. 2 people have arrived, standing on the threshold of the estate and waiting to be led inside. The Count is surprised. Duke Redwillian and Rongdenwi both want to meet Lady Michelle, so they are not going to leave without getting anything. It's already too late, so the Count menacingly asks to come tomorrow if there is some urgent matter that cannot be postponed. As the rain outside gets heavier, the horses may die on the way back, and it's not safe. The Countess proposes to allocate rooms for guests in which they can wait until tomorrow, when they can leave. It is unclear why they came to meet at such a time, but all that remains is to convey our sincere apologies for what is happening. Michelle has no idea why the guys arrived together, but she didn't invite them. The surprise is exactly the same as everyone else's. Tomorrow the blonde will find out the reason why they arrived. Dinner is ending, so they are going to leave. It's still raining outside. The red-haired girl lies in her bed and thinks about what's happening. Looking at the Timex came to the house without warning, even if he said that next time he would also go a long way to see. The girl was waiting for a guest, so he came. She's obliged to show everything in the house, as well as her favorite room. She wants to talk quickly, so the beauty is trying to fall asleep. The window suddenly opened. A shadow-like figure is visible on the windowsill, about to jump inside. Already opening her mouth to call for help, the maiden falls silent, because the Duke is sitting in front of her, holding his palm to her. The lady was very surprised. The man is completely wet and is not even afraid of getting sick, because he believes that he has good immunity. The blonde came to talk quietly, but it would be in vain if they made a noise and woke everyone up. The most important thing is that the young man came. The girl was very glad that he came, but she was silent herself, as she was almost falling asleep. Despite this, the hero came to see each other. Having overcome all these difficulties, he wants her to pretend to be happy. The woman didn't speak. She wasn't happy, but she just didn't want someone to do something like that just for her sake. The redhead waited all day, but for some reason Rudwillian came late at night. He knew it would rain. Father is a very understanding person, but if there was no excuse, he would not allow anyone to stay at the estate overnight. The girl offers tea, but doesn't understand what to do next. She doesn't remember how to brew it, so she freezes. First you need to light a fire, but the Countess almost drops the match. They grab her so that she does not fall, once again asking her to be quiet. The match should be held in the middle, and this is how the task will be simplified. The girl had a hard time brewing tea before. It's better not to make excuses, so the man sits down to show how to brew next time he won't help. While there is no one who can help, it's worth doing everything yourself. But the lady decided to wait and almost burned the room down. In 5 minutes, everything was ready. The tea tastes good. The man heard that the Radiance estate is famous for its delicious drink. The Rudwillian estate is on the north side. They are not known for anything other than war, or even the brewery they have. Whiskey is a drink with a higher alcohol content than wine and is made from grain rather than grapes. On the way, the young man ran into a man. He was still rescuing friends from thieves, and it seems that they are quite close. The lady obviously doesn't want to talk about it, but still says that they are not close. At first, she even mistook him for a gardener. Then the brunette began to often come to Valerie. She thought that he liked his sister, but, as it turned out, this was not true. Saying that he liked the lady, Unbian showed a pendant with a woman about whom it immediately became known. The man has heard the story many times already. The girl probably doesn't know why Sasha is called the Chosen One. In the kingdom, it was said that the priestess received the oracle's prediction, revealed a prophecy where the king's grandfather Fandjuf had 2 daughters. Among them is the younger sister, the princess's mother. In the year of this man's birth, the same prophecy occurred. The child must bring peace and prosperity. A little later, the daughters conceived a child from the Holy Spirit, and they began to be called the Chosen Ones. Especially in the midst of war, people clutch at any speck of hope. One way or another, the Northerners were more on the side of the eldest, the one in the pendant. Michelle hadn't heard much about that one, but she knew that she was on the field and fought with everyone else. Openly, the woman did everything she could to reduce the losses. Because of all the merits, people loved her more, and she naturally believed that her child would be the chosen one. When the due date was approaching, the lady was kidnapped. A few months later, she lost the fetus and returned remembering nothing, and after a while, she was poisoned by a spy sent by the Empire. Unbian Rungdenwi considers the Empire to be the culprit, therefore. As soon as he learned to wield a sword, he joined the Knights. Now the man is Sasha's guard. In those days, he personally promised to kill all members of the Empire and the one who kills without even thinking. Sir Roman said something similar, but even when the maiden showed her displeasure, Un always smiled. It is impossible to think such a thing about him. If the guy became an assistant for the sake of revenge, then it's unclear why he thinks that Michelle is similar to the person he admires. Princess Sasha should be more suitable, because she is the chosen one. In this case, there is no answer, because there is no logic here. I would like to know what was meant when the princess's promise was broken. Considering the kind of life the heroine led, it becomes clear almost immediately, without question. Opening the door, Valerie calls her friend, saying that she has a question. She enters, but almost immediately freezes. The blonde doesn't quite understand where she ended up, because the Duke literally appeared out of nowhere. The blonde was just passing by. A man knows what worries a lady, but he would never come with bad intentions. Everything is transparent. Rudwillian thought that tomorrow there would be no time to talk, so he came to tell a little story. Jumping up from her seat, the red-haired woman tries to formulate what she wants to say. To be honest, she and the Duke are friends. A smile blooms on her face very quickly. Virgo sees for the first time someone introduced by Michelle as a friend, or someone else. After all, she is usually close to herself. If someone saw the two in the middle of the night, they might think, "Don't get it. I want to run away because my sister is too loud." If Timex has the same opinion about his girlfriend, then he should refrain from visiting the room at night. He apologizes. The Duke made tea, and the lady really liked it. The sister never knew how to brew, so at first there was no limit to surprise. The only thing that is not clear to Radiance is when the couple managed to become such friends. They now act like best friends. At first there was a misunderstanding, but while they were talking, it was resolved and they managed to establish contact. The man is silent and then wants to ask for one favor, even if it may sound a little shameless. Smiling, the hero asks if any of them know about the morning prayer on All Saints' Day, which takes place in the temple. Dawn has arrived, morning prayer in honor of the great holiday. There is a rumor among children that this holiday helps to meet your soul. In honor of this event, the young man wanted to invite them both to his mansion. In the Radiance house, it will be difficult to meet the time. Even if you start early in the morning, nothing will work, and the Redwillian Duchy is close to the central temple. I would like to get Lady Valerie's consent, but she knows for sure that her father will be against it. There is no point in asking her herself. The lady's father doesn't like the whole Duke's family, because there is a residue from ancient times and something that hasn't been resolved. It all happened about 18 years ago. The war was in full swing. Commoners and nobles suffered greatly. Some aristocrats believed that capturing the North was the only way out of the crisis, so they put pressure on the commander-in-chief. They wanted him to go to the battlefield without a break, and in the end, the man died there. This man was the girl's uncle, Violin. Among the nobles who brought Radiance to death was the Duke's father, Redwillian, the father of the children, who lost his only brother, still cannot forget this. The Count never wanted to talk about his family, but no one knew about the story. Now it's clear why the Radiances zealously opposed. Valerie promises that it's worth trying to talk. The Duke has a small family, so the mansion is empty. You can invite everyone there. Timex is clearly a gentleman if he invites everyone at once. He will prepare to receive guests. After the couple has become friends, the lady wants to chat about literally everything. The girl is very comfortable next to the maid. The beauty wants to meet as soon as possible. The maid calls the mistress, which means it's time for lunch. The girl walks along the corridor, thinking about when the Duke stood up, but notices a painting of Uncle Violin hanging nearby. The impression of this man was a little softer. His face reminds me of a father when he is worried about something. The father comes out to meet him, noticing that his daughter got up early. He asks if she got enough sleep. She seems to be in a good mood. It seems that something good happened, but the lady was only thinking about her uncle. He was the same kind person as the Count. It seems that both of them have been thinking about their father's brother for a very long time. The man looks extremely sad, so much so that it even becomes a little unusual. His soul still hurts at the mere mention of it. A deep melancholy is felt in his soul even after a while. Valerie said she wants to attend the party with Michelle. They want to pray for peace and tranquility in the family, if possible. It seems that the sister has already begun to warm up the soil. The Countess says that the event will take place at dawn. If Michelle asks, she will go, but you shouldn't force her, because it won't lead to anything good. Footsteps are heard, so the conversation is interrupted for a second. Guys enter the room, but the lady only looks at her friend. Sitting down at the table, the hero thanks for the warm welcome at night. Thanks to them, he slept peacefully and did not think about anything. It seems that he interrupted their conversation. The blonde says that she asked permission to attend the meeting. The temple is far away, so the father is worried. If so, it is possible to allow the lady to spend the night in the Duchy's mansion on the night of the festivities. The manor is close to the site and has rooms. The girl says it's a great idea, but a stern no ruins the whole atmosphere. The Count appreciates the favor, but cannot allow them to be indebted to anyone, especially since the red-haired woman does not want. Suddenly, it turns out that the lady will go. She wants to go to a prayer meeting on a great holiday because she knows that in this place, it is customary to pray for a future husband. So the blonde is not sure of the correctness of the youngest decision. The other day, the heroine heard a strange rumor. If you write the name of the person she refused, you can refute the rumors. The girl had never heard of courtship, let alone rejection, so the theory sounds a little strange. The blonde nods. He was also allowed to spend the night, even if he wasn't a relative, so there won't be any problems. You can think of it as a fee for services. As a father, a man wants to ask at least 2 more questions. Because of the rain, I completely forgot the question, but now I want to know again why these two wanted to see Michelle last night. Unbian wanted to apologize for disrespecting the lady last time. He said it quite bluntly. In fact, the knight really likes Michelle. The statement causes the Count to choke on food and water. During this time, Rong Denhui expressed his feelings to the lady several times, but she was always cold, so he thought that she did not like. He learned that he had made a mistake because there was a difference between the cultures of the countries in the empire. You must first get married. That is why now the brunette asks the heroines to think about marriage with him as a reality and not just a joke. It's better to discuss this with the head of the family first. Now is not the time for this, so it's better to wait. If the couple gets married, then the beauty will have to go to the north. The spoon falls in surprise because the red-haired woman completely forgot. Brandon doesn't want to give his sister away to someone unknown, so he asks William to listen to the reason too. The young man came to return what he borrowed. A book that Roman borrowed just recently falls into the hands of the Countess. This is a romantic novel. The knight is surprised that the Duke has such a strange hobby. It looks more like a simple excuse. Perhaps this is not even true, because in fact the blonde simply returned what he took. There is no intent. Unbean forces you to tell us what was in the plot. The beauty only hopes that the man managed to finish reading the novel. We are talking about Elaine, the rude Duke, and the stupid Princess Isabel. Each had complexes and wounds in their souls, but their feelings prevailed. The story is popular, but few people read it. The man believes that it is about something important between people who remain only. If possible, everyone should read. A girl shouts out something in agreement because she can't believe it. Two people see each other as they are, and this is the main essence of love. There are many stories about this, but I like this one the most. The heroine was so stupid that she caused a lot of noise, but this does not mean that she was hated or considered. This is the first time the Countess sees Michelle talking so excitedly to someone. This is enough to entrust her daughters to the Duke. A girl is usually not the kind of child who insists on her desire or even voices it, so this is surprising. In addition to all this, Timex, who once saved the girls from bandits, can go to the meeting in the morning. If so, then during your visit to the Duke, you should observe etiquette and be careful so as not to disturb anyone. It seems the man had already left, because the girl lingered. Valerie and Brandon continued to interrogate their sister. The voice of Timex is heard. I want to rejoice, but it seems that there is also someone else there who doesn't know what to even. Unbian asks how the blonde's relationship with the lady is. A menacing cloud of some kind of mistrust and anger hangs between. A man doesn't even have to explain himself. The brunette courted the lady unilaterally, which is even funny. All that can be said is that you should think about your actions and know when to stop your actions. The heroine gets very nervous when something unexpected happens. Things go too far when it comes to her family. Michelle doesn't like it when she causes conflict. Selfishness is manifested even in the love of a lady. It seems that the Duke might think so because Un is a savage. The guys notice Radiance, who is standing around the corner. She didn't want to eavesdrop, but it happened that way. From now on, if questions regarding personality arise, it is better to ask directly rather than talk to others. Timex is a dear friend, so there is no need for problems. It will take too long to explain, so the best thing to do is to obey. The brunette turned away in disappointment. He was told that it would take 10 years to become friends. It seems that the red-haired woman was wrong. With William, everything changed immediately after meeting, because the period of time is not important. Obviously, what was said screams that the girl is rejecting the marriage proposal, which is, in principle, expected. As the beauty already said, it would be better to just ask her father. She does not have the wisdom to resolve such issues. I would like to know why the knight wants to get married. Nobles marry not only because of the sympathy they show. The girl is illegitimate, so you should not expect support from the family. The man has already said that she is simply a valuable person. In fact, the red-haired woman is not such a good person and doesn't know much. Nobody addressed her so kindly. It is clear that Sir thinks of Michelle as an impeccable person. Expectations may not be met. It's okay to remind someone because of the horniness, and it's an honor for a virgin to give memories of someone great. She is not what they want to find in her. In the end, disappointment will come, and you can't escape from it if you are married. It is for this reason that the heroine is grateful to her friend, because he sees her herself, with all her shortcomings. No need to stress about mistakes when Timex is around. There's no man like taking care of a teddy bear. If anyone heard it, they would think it was unpleasant. This is how Michelle became friends with the Duke. She knows that her friend will not despise her. He may be angry and grumble, but he will not look in the wrong way. The lady hopes that she was understood. It is better to discuss the issue of marriage with the Count, but in fact, this is no longer so important. The blonde believes that his girlfriend, although clumsy, is still not as wretched as she thinks. Self-doubt kills. I want the lady to be loved by someone who can accept all of her, with all the shortcomings that are hidden. As someone who treasures radiance, he advises Unbian to stop bothering her because he's not suitable. The man catches up with the girl to go together, but she complains that he stopped calling her by name. If the name is not known, it is better to say it again. He is the only one who behaves like this and does not admit. You need to think about it. Before, only the red-headed girl called the guy by name, but he himself didn't do the same. It seems that the hero did not notice his sin, but everything can be corrected by just doing the same thing, right now. The young man knows the name, but is going to call his girlfriend Misha. It seems to him that such a nickname is much more suitable. For some reason, what was said sounds pleasant. The lady was not called that in childhood, but a strange feeling accumulates inside. Several hours passed. The heroine still could not understand where she had already heard what she had already been told before. Blonde girl goes out in a blue dress with a fluffy hem. She would like to wear this to a prayer meeting. The girl always said that her sister was beautiful, and even Timex confirmed this. Mention of the man was insignificant. The beauty is very embarrassed. The countess sits down next to her, noticing that her daughter seems to be getting bored of sitting all alone. The blonde knows that the topic of outfits and jewelry is not of interest, but these favors still support her sister. She and the Duke seem close, but the redhead insists she didn't do anything inappropriate that could ruin everything. Perhaps the lady would like to get even closer, because she enjoys spending time with someone who appreciates her like no other. The father said not to approach Ridvillian, but it seems the mother doesn't mind. She agrees that we can continue to be friends. At some moments, a woman regrets that she cannot understand feelings. Because of this, she again has to plunge into thoughts. It's impossible to know what's in another person's heart. No one can possibly understand this, no matter how hard he tries. Sometimes it happens that you want to understand someone's feelings, or vice versa, share them, but nothing comes of it. The Duke seems like a deep thinker, of course. It's good that the daughter is comfortable with someone. The girl thinks that for the first time she began to say something only to Timex. The maid interrupts the conversation. Due to matters that have arisen in the imperial palace, it will not be possible to meet in person. The Duke sends a personal carriage with knights and hopes that the journey will be comfortable. The captain of the Knights of the Duchy of Ridvillian, Raymond Rodas, greets the young ladies. He shows the mansion. Brandon didn't think they would be greeted this way, because he now feels like a guest of national importance. It's written on the brother's face that he doesn't like it, but the beauty doesn't understand why he followed them then. The blonde asks about the decision with the wedding. The father must choose it, but he will not give permission if the daughter herself does not want. Virgo hasn't thought about this yet. They are a little burdensome and want to get married when nothing is clear. The lady is not sure that she can be a good wife. Valerie gets angry and asks the boy not to pester him anymore with stupid questions. The knight reacts almost with lightning speed when someone appears nearby. This is Roman, who holds out a lush bouquet. On the way here, the man saw a flower that looked very much like a lady. He accidentally said, "That's not Michelle." The boy is taken away because he made a mistake. The Duke's subordinate gives flowers and says such things, and it seems that this is par for the course for the sister. The girl hands the bouquet to Valerie. She unmistakably believes that it suits her much better than her, so she turns around to leave. The family is a little delayed, but finally enters the main door of the estate. They look around. A woman with beautiful blonde hair greets the gentleman Radiance. We had to wait, but now the moment has come. The mansion is old and distinguished by style. It is very richly decorated and matches the dignity of the ducal family. The heroine, as an older woman, likes these things most of all. The children of the family are so beautiful that they look like dolls. When asking about jewelry, the girl literally skips Brandon because he doesn't do that kind of thing. This was the hobby of the previous duke. Due to a weak heart from birth, he was not destined to become a knight, as he wanted. The doctor said that it was the heart that caused the man's death. This makes me a little sad. The Duchess's daughter was also like that, so she left the world very early, which is also as sad as talking about her husband. Michelle gets up and sits next to the woman on the sofa. Support is the most important thing for any person. The blonde turned out to be very kind. Valerie thought that since she was an adult, she would be stricter, but this was not the case. The beauty has a strange déjà vu. They are meeting for the first time, but this voice, touches, and the house as a whole are very similar. Everything looks familiar, but not so familiar. The lady advises her sister to pull the handle to go outside. The unimaginable happens. The girl realizes that she knows this place, because the feeling still does not leave her. It seems that someone has arrived, so the door opens. The Duke appears in the doorway, greeting the guests. He is glad that everyone arrived safe and sound. The man apologizes for not being able to immediately meet them upon arrival. Timex had urgent matters to attend to, so there is no point in blaming him. He remains emotionally deprived. Sitting down next to his girlfriend's chair, the young man notices that she doesn't look well. Perhaps something happened. Something is definitely wrong with the girl, but she continues to assure that she is in perfect order. She asks about urgent matters. In fact, Redvillian should apologize to both of them, because in the end, the story will not be the same. The people who tried to steal them were killed last night. Someone poisoned them to prevent the truth from coming out. The knights investigated this, but His Majesty does not want to destroy the world. The actions will be stopped. The culprit was never found. The family will be given compensation for what happened. As the commander of the Imperial Army, the guy apologizes sincerely for the fact that he cannot find the culprits. In any case, we won't be able to do anything. We will challenge His Majesty's order. The man will continue to look for the culprit on his own. Princess Sasha said she couldn't trust the Imperial Guards, so she would stay overnight at the Duke's estate. The lady will be attending a meeting tomorrow, so not much will happen. It's best to try not to interfere with her too. The girl didn't hear what she was told because she was lost in thought. She asks if she needs to go back home. The words Michelle says may seem rude. It's okay, because it was said out of negligence. It will be a pity if they leave. But if such are the desires, the man will not hold and prepare the carriage. The girl looks directly at her friend and asks if he will be sad if she leaves. She wants to be asked to stay. A man asks if he needs a smaller carriage and gets a reaction. It's very easy to piss off a friend. This does not mean that the lady should leave. Timex will be very pleased if the lady remains next to him. The idea of having dinner and breakfast together is ideal. Valerie notes that the couple gets along well. The sister thinks that a friend treats another person more politely. But she is too naive if that is what she thinks. They wake up Misha and say that the tea party has almost started. They should take a sip of tea and start dancing together. A little blonde girl sits in a chair in front of the bear and smiles. She looks really happy. The girl says that the Count has been looking at Misha for a long time, as if he is in love. But Michelle does not understand what is happening and cannot move. A woman sees her friend starting to cough actively. She needs to call for help, but her body is just like a stone statue. Misha was very worried, but it's not scary, because the beauty is fine. She hopes that she can protect the toy too. Now the heroine understands that she knows this smile, which is filled with warmth. They promise each other to always be together. Her eyes suddenly open. A tear runs down her cheek. Bella promised that they would always be together, but left her friend. This is due to déjà vu, which appears from the moment she arrived at the place. The dream helped her remember that the house is truly familiar, even if there are almost no memories of it. There is no other place like it in the Empire. The beautiful estate contains elements of the past, the redhead continues on, looking around. Turning around, the beauty hears some kind of roar. She got scared because she still doesn't fully understand what's happening around her. Virgo hears something, so she goes up the stairs. The sensations force her not to give up, but to move on until her strength runs out. The lady is afraid that she might run into the princess by pure chance. She will be upset if Timex is disappointed. In the room further down, the light is still on. Judging by the atmosphere, the room looks like an office in which someone is talking. Someone is talking, but it is very difficult to understand the essence due to the fact that the room is too large. There is a reason why the criminal is being hidden. The voices fall silent, and after a second, Unbian turns the door away, exposing his sword. Behind the door once again was Misha, who fell to the floor out of fear and looked from side to side at her friends. The woman was able to fall asleep and had a dream. When she woke up, everything was dark. She heard someone talking and found herself there. "We need to drink something warm." Rongdenwi asks to tell you about the dream, which was a nightmare, to make it a little easier. The lady played with dolls with a beautiful girl and felt better. She is not able to talk about more. As soon as the girl calms down, the Duke is going to carry his friend to the room so that she does not have to make her way in the dark. A skirmish breaks out. The brunette believes that since he was the one who scared him, he should take him back to the room. The redhead can't figure out what kind of relationship they are in. For the first time in the banquet hall, they act as if they don't know each other. Everything is connected only with work. The truce with the country of snow and ice does not end with promises. The things to discuss are inexhaustible. Now that the short banquet is over, it takes several years to coordinate. Suddenly it became quiet, and this makes it awkward. Looking around the table, the lady notices sacred objects that Timex used to have. Gizmos make a temple for issue on the front lines. Dozens of priests and saints prayed to the talismans, turning them into shrines. A soldier received one or two of them. Obviously, what he received was not something valuable to the man. He always carried it with him for protection. The reason why the blonde wore a talisman was because the imperial people are believers. If you give up a holy relic and then a problem arises with the squad, there will be people who will say that God was angry with the commander. Now, when the lady thinks about the logic of her actions, she begins to understand that the young man's relationship with the temple is terrible. The beauty wanted to pick up the thing, but the tea went bankrupt, burning her hands. The relic fell to the floor, splitting into two parts. There is a piece of earth inside. If all the soldiers were given silver talismans, there would be no money left in the temple budget at all. Only the surface was coated with silver to give a sense of authenticity. They did not think of any other option. In the land of snow and ice, it is considered most appropriate to make religious objects from clay. The closest thing to people is the land. They believe that it itself is sacred, and for the Northerners, this is the most important. The line between a religious item and a curse item is unclear. Unless you know, the lady gets scared when she hears something. Redwillian acts as if he doesn't care. They finished when they managed to verify the truth for themselves. Nobody knows when the gizmos were created, so you can swear endlessly. Your head starts to hurt from the noise from all sides. A man holds out a jar. The jewel is made by purifying the blood and bones of livestock. It's a cursed relic item given by Timex. Now the lady knows what we are talking about. When the bear caught fire, nothing remained of it, including that strange voice. There was a similar one inside the talisman for the same reason as what was found in the ceiling. Recently, a supply of sacred items was received again. We managed to find out about the connection with the Imperial Temple. This is not at all a dangerous thing that can harm people. Michelle has nothing to worry about because the fear will go away over time. She would be protected if something went wrong. In addition, Miss Michelle will most likely be afraid of this, so the conversation will be stopped. Misha is a soldier lady who grew up peacefully in a safe place, so it's worth continuing to worry about her condition. Religious items that are used in the North are not the worst. Timex is the same, because it protects a friend like a small child. If she and the Duke had not met, he might still be with the girl. Even if they said that this place was not dangerous, it became uneasy. There are a lot of thoughts in my head, and the voices of those arguing sound like a lullaby. The girl fell asleep for the second time that day. This time the heroine has become a soul again. She looks around the room, which is bright and beautiful. A bear is sitting on the table. The Duke tells the girl that it is time for her to return home, but she screams that she wants to stay in the estate forever. These are the words of the doll. The baby wants to live with her father, mother, and Bella, who have become a new family. Other people are also waiting to come back to their place. The beauty assures that Radiance is not her family. Because they said how different her daughter is from them, she still wants to stay in one. Redvillian wanted to leave Misha in the mansion, but things take a completely different turn after he found out that she is from the Radiance family. Tammy won't even know because the little girl pretends like she has no idea who the Count is in the kingdom. It became clear right away that we were talking about Timex. She couldn't forget her story. But now I want to remember everything in detail. The bear promises to be quiet and not make a sound. Only Michelle can become a good friend for the Duke's youngest daughter. After an accident when the girl was 6 years old, she lived in the Rudvillian mansion in the body of a plush doll. The heroine was a friend of Bella, who also loved the toy very much. Now it's clear where the nickname that the blonde gave is familiar. The man who was respected by others is the girl's father, and she didn't even know it. Radiance is not part of that same family, so she has no place here. Her presence only brings misfortune to other people. When the twins bullied and neglected their sister, it was the family that accepted the beauty. They were loved. The woman was abandoned again, as if she had no place in the new world. These words are so cold that I wouldn't even want to believe them. Returning to her home, the red-haired woman erased her acquaintances from her memory so as not to hurt herself more. They are not the chosen ones. What was said was so shocking that it physically hurt. The Duke looked like he was in pain too. Valerie comes in to check on her sister, but is surprised when she sees her. Sitting down next to her, the blonde asks what happened. The reason could be a nightmare, but most importantly, it's not a fact that she will be able to go to the meeting. The girl doesn't feel like it at all, but if she doesn't go, there will be nothing to say to her father. Joy is immediately displayed. The Duke said that he will meet the guests a little later. The person who will help is the one whom the girls saw last night before they entered the mansion. The man's name is Roman, and then it's not difficult to immediately guess who we're talking about. He's most likely already arrived. The handsome man really turned out to be outside the door. He asks about readiness, but the lady will need a... It's impossible to believe that this character came. They had trouble choosing an outfit. Someone so handsome would be beautiful in any attire. Michelle is gorgeous, but the young man thought that the clothes were being chosen for Valerie. She blushes with embarrassment. The girl arrived at that very temple. A veil is thrown over her face. Unfortunately, she just can't concentrate. I just wanted to live a quiet and peaceful life. But it seems that nothing worked out in the end, judging by what was happening. Life turned upside down in a completely different way than expected. A fake voice is surprised that she met Radiance herself. The veil falls from her face, and Princess Sasha herself appears there. She extends her palm to her interlocutor's cheek. There is no need for formalities because they are all the same. The veil is used as a symbol that all are daughters and sisters of God. It is impossible to treat Sasha like everyone else. In the land of snow and ice, the treatment between the queen's family and the people is not that serious. Every time they meet, the only thing heard is Fandyuf's nagging. She behaves inappropriately. The couple has many similarities. The girl is an illegitimate child, and the mother was a foreigner from the north. It's not clear where the girl heard rumors about her rival's mother. Misha proudly said that she knew about her origin, which made it funny. The woman knows that the princess is dissatisfied with her, but being rude is too much. The girl did nothing wrong and respected her before meeting in person. Sasha promised to be the one to stop the war, but in fact, her actions are extremely disappointing. The reason for upsetting fans remains. The lady blames the stranger for raising her own expectations. It was indeed the woman's mistake, and she asks for forgiveness. After all, the apology is extremely sudden. Sasha silences the lady. She's tired of pretending to be nice to please others. The girl acts cute, gathering men in front of her. She thinks that she is much better than the others and turns up her nose. Perhaps, due to luck and feigned cuteness, the others manage to pull it off, but not Sasha. It's hard to agree with. The virgin continues to press, resting her hands on the wall, and again repeating that her friend should stop her performance. A girl who grew up like a hothouse flower should not try to challenge one who spent half her life on the battlefield. In a way, it becomes scary. If Michelle tries to sit in her place, she will simply be destroyed. Just about to say something else, Sasha opens her mouth, but a priest appears, smiling, trying to diffuse the atmosphere. He guessed who is standing in front of him, because it is the promised Fanduf, who again shows her villainous side. The redhead twists her face with a smile. Grunting angrily, she lets go of the girl, who was like hunted. Cecile probably, without knowing it, helped Rodvillian's friend. Sasha says that she lost her balance. That's why she was caught. The girl is shaking with fear. It seems that the blonde misunderstood, and it really cannot be said that the future queen could have done something terrible. If they are done with their business, they should leave. They haven't seen each other for a long time, so they will definitely find something to talk about, especially with Radiance. The woman leaves. The priest can't help himself because she really is terrible. The girl sits on the floor crying because she was scared. It was known about the dirty personality of the girl because Timex told about it, but no one suspected that everything was so bad. The redhead hasn't gone anywhere, so she's fine, but she's having a hard time stopping crying Valerie came at the most inopportune moment. She hugs her sister, screaming and asking what they managed to do to her. If a man is a priest, this does not mean that everything is allowed to him. Radiance continues to press, asking what was said. The Holy Father, along with other priests, appeared in the corridor and made Cecile scream. This is indeed the high priest, so in order not to disgrace themselves, the girls bow their heads. The character looks younger than she thought. He asks to lift her head, noting that the girl looks a little drooping. She's about to tell everything, but the hero only asks not to be sad. In fact, he is not going to listen. The time has come. The Holy Father puts his hand on his shoulder, saying that they are going to begin the prayer meeting. He asks the name of the young lady. Michelle said what and how, but after that they called her Maria, saying that this name is wonderful. Even though he smiles, it makes him disgusted. Valerie catches up with her sister. She wants to know what happened, but it seems they are not going to tell her, saying that everything is fine. Radiance is going to do just that. There's nothing special about telling the truth, but there's no need to worry. The eldest daughter of the Count of Evil, she ran away almost in tears, which made her heart feel anxious. This matter is only for her and the princess. By involving her sister, the woman will make her suffer, but it seems that no other help should be expected because everyone is busy. The girl decides to go upstairs. She remembers the exact location of Bella's room, but 18 years have passed, so expectations